Hello everyone. Hello viewers. Welcome back to another CSEC English B live stream. Today we'll be looking at the themes across the English B poems. We have 20 poems and there are countless themes that might come up when you look at these poems. So yes, Lionheart, thank you for coming in. You're pretty early. Within the first couple of seconds you're here. Thanks for joining. So why is it important to look at the Lionheart isn't even a student, he's just showing support, so thanks for that. Why is it important to look at the themes across the poems? Well, knowing the themes that surface will help us to understand what the poems are about. Of course, that's an obvious answer, but also our English B essay that we'll have to write in the exam room should encompass a theme. We're going to be comparing 2 poems in the exam. We're going to be looking at a theme across both poems. We'll look at a device across or devices across both poems, and we'll look at like a speaker's experience in one poem. So understanding the themes will be responsible for about 1/3 of the body of your essay. Now, there isn't a definitive list of themes, and different students, different teachers might have different ideas of what themes show up where, which is completely fine. It's just about being able to explain, justify, argue your point, stuff like that. So, we have a new guest on the live today. We'll be hearing the voice of Melina Burnett. Melina, could you go ahead and give us a quick intro?
Okay, so hi, I'm Melina Burnett. I'm an English teacher from Trinidad, and I'm here really to share and also to learn and to just show some support. I like learning about English. It is my field, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you, Melina. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm Adam, and I like English B. Pretty much, I like English B and English A, but I like English B even more. Now, let's get to the fancy little PowerPoint thingy that I've prepared. Let's discuss themes explored in the English B poems. So, how we'll be doing, and by the way, if you're here in the chats, remember we can't see or hear you, so let's know that you are here through your comments. I think there are 3 or 4, maybe 5 viewers so far, but only Lionheart has made himself known, made himself acknowledged. So let me know that you are here. Let us know that you are here by just saying hello in the chat. Yeah, we'll know that you're here. Welcome to the teachers and students of English B and just the lovers of poetry who might also be joining us. So we are looking at the themes in the English B poems. Thank you for being here, Suan Slater. Suan, are you a teacher or student? Or is it neither? Teacher, student, or just a lover of literature? So when you guys are saying hi, you can even tell us, even in a vague sense, who you are. That way we can feel more acquainted. I'm not sure if Sue Ann has ever joined any of these sessions. It's a name that seems new to me. Anyway, bam. I'll be bringing up the 20 poems. We're looking at these 20 poems this time around for English B. And I just want you guys to type in the comments what you think are the nature poems. So the first theme we're looking at is nature. What poems do you think talk about nature? Nature is one of more common themes, I think, across the 20 poems. It shows up in quite a number of poems. So after you guys give me your lists, uh, Melina and I will briefly give our take on that. So, which of these poems do you think deal with nature? If you get a question in the exam where you have to talk about, compare two poems on the basis of something about nature, what poems do you think might qualify for such an essay? Let me know what you guys think. Six persons here, so I should be seeing at least six responses so far. What do you guys think are the nature poems? Where can we find nature? Daphne Taylor, good morning. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for joining the line. I know it's pretty early, so I really appreciate you guys spending your mornings here. Corrine Smalling, thanks for coming out. Teacher of English B. Regular supporter of these types of sessions, I think. Yeah, Corrine Smalling. Somehow that profile picture looks very familiar to me. Yeah, so what do we think are some of the nature poems? Nature poems. I have about 20 themes that I want us to look at and kind of build some poem lists. And again, this is important because if we are given a theme, or when we are given a theme in the exam, on the poetry section, we'll have to know what bank of poems we can choose from in order to discuss that theme. So, what do we think? All right, while we are typing in the chat, Melina and I will just go ahead and tell us what we think. So, Miss Burnett, what do you think are some of the nature poems? Maybe starting with your favorite and then going to your least favorite.
Well, just some of them I have read recently, and some of them are distant in my memory. But
Mm.
I would say from just the title of the poem, An African
Mm.
Thunderstorm.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes, for sure, I believe. Yes.
Yeah, for sure,
Um,
for sure.
yes, I remember. There's this one image I think of. I think the wind or something that is stuck in my mind of the wind from the storm kind of wrestling with the woman's clothing and all of that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Right. So there's nature there, I believe for sure, and probably even my father's teasing me background. Even nature versus man or the person,
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
sonnet,
yeah.
sonnet composed upon Westminster Bridge.
Yeah, and Lionheart supports that as well as
Yeah.
bird shooting season. Just acknowledging the comments as we go. So
Mhm.
Sonnet, where's Sonnet? Yeah,
Yes. Um, those
maybe
are
just
the obvious ones I'm thinking. Who comes? I'm thinking about, well, this I'm not sure if it is very much prevalent in this one, but I remember in
hmm.
This Is a Dark Time, My Love. There's something with
Ah,
the flower, and then there's the beetle, and the man tramples upon something. I can't remember.
oh,
As I tell you, I can't remember all of them. Very well.
mm-hmm.
So there's those three. I believe landscape sounds like it has something to do, of course, with the landscape, which is nature. So that sounds just from the title
Yeah, yeah.
very superficial. Um, I was also this might I'm not sure if it would be prevailing in
Mm-hmm.
terms of a nature theme. I was also thinking about bird shooting season, but it may not be
Ah,
very prevalent because I know that there would be other more prominent themes in it. But just
mm-hmm.
because I'm just, as I told you, I'm just looking at the the title, but in it, I believe there were two different perspectives of the girls versus the boys in terms of how they viewed the birds. Because I remember
Mm-hmm.
the girls were saying "fly, birds, fly," and then the boys they wanted to be the hunters of the birds and all of that, right? So
Right.
um, So now this is what I have in terms of nature themes that I could just pinpoint off the top of my head. You know.
Yeah, and this selection here that you have, I think it's very close to what I had beforehand. And what's Lionheart saying here? Lionheart says compose, sounding much like music.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the sonnet itself was composed on the bridge. Well, thank you, that's magnificent, for coming out. My lovely wife showing support on the live. Very nice. Lionheart says indirect in nature title for landscape. Yeah, in the title kind of gives it away here. Landscape painter. So perhaps someone is painting the picture of a landscape, which is fine. That sounds like nature right there. Oh, Suwan, you're neither student nor teacher, parent. Wow, thank you
Excellent.
for supporting the English B initiative. Very nice. That's pretty cool. I really like to see more parents coming out to the lives, and I think that would even encourage more of the students to come out. Yeah, pretty cool. Any other ideas for nature poems here? I'll just go ahead and let you guys know my thoughts as well. So looking down the list here, I think South might qualify for being a nature poem, because in this poem we have like the contrast between the north and the south, and we talk about like the Caribbean beauty, the beach, the bright beaches, and the sea, and seashells and starfish, a lot of natural elements, compared to the nature of the north, which we saw like cold, sharp nature, basically a nature that isn't so inviting. And of course, we could argue that nature isn't a main theme in South, but I think it's used to bring out other themes. So sometimes a theme can be directly, um, could be critical to the poem, or it might just be like a sub theme or a theme that is used to bring out a more important theme. I think you mentioned that about bird shooting season, Melina,
Yes.
where we have nature being used as like it's like a second or third place theme, but it's still there. You're still seeing the natural elements, the birds, the hunting of the birds, stuff like that. And even in the word season, we know seasonal stuff sounds very natural as well. All right, so how we're gonna do it is we're just gonna highlight the poems that come up, and the list I came up with was pretty much what we just outlined. So this is just what I thought of beforehand, before the stream. I thought of An African Thunderstorm, where, as Melina said, we kind of look at man versus nature. And this is another poem in which nature isn't necessarily the main theme, but it is used to bring out other more major themes, basically. Yeah. For sonnet composed upon Westminster Bridge, nature is definitely a primary theme here. We see a speaker just musing over nature, enjoying, admiring the scenery and stuff like that. We can't go into analyzing each poem. We're kind of just looking at how the theme, plays a role in that poem. This is the dark time, my love. As Melina said, nature isn't necessarily the main theme, but we do see natural elements. We see grass, sun, flowers, and these natural elements are kind of representing the emotions or feelings of the speaker, setting the tone through pathetic fallacy. We'll look at pathetic fallacy in the evening session. We have another session this afternoon where we look at devices. So we're looking at themes now. Later in the day, we'll look at devices across the poems. South, already talked about that. A lesson for this Sunday. Melina, do you want to talk about this poem? Have you recently read this poem? How does nature come
Well,
come up?
right. I just opened my will of poetry on it, and just from a skimming view, I am seeing a lot of um references to nature in it. With the
Mhm.
mantis praise and the butterflies, I'm just calling out words that I'm seeing that would be related to nature, really and truly. So I'm just
Hmm.
like my students in terms of being last minutes and all of that. Yeah, the August air and the frail as flowers, and even when they make the similes and the comparisons, they make
Yeah,
reference to nature with it. So nature is very much incorporated. It is hard to say, well, it is not this. So I would say yes, it is a theme, a definite theme there. Yep.
yeah, well said, well said. And Melina is doing something that I think is it's an interesting technique. Skimming through the diction of a poem will actually give you good hints as to what themes to look out for. So even if you're looking at a poem for the first time and you're asking yourself, wow, what themes might come up, just look at the diction. And if you're seeing many words that connect to nature, like Melina pointed out, the praying mantis, butterfly, August air, then that might prime your mind to think about, okay, maybe nature is explored in some way here. So looking at the diction, that's going to give you a hint as to what themes might be explored. And in a lesson for this Sunday, in my opinion, nature is kind of a victim in this poem. We see two children kind of, abusing, torturing a butterfly, and the speaker kind of reflecting on that whole, using it as like a learning experience. Wow, what does this mean? These kids are here just playing with the butterfly as if it's a toy. And he kind of reflects deeply on what that might mean on a deeper level. Landscape painter Jamaica, very obviously, we see someone painting a natural scenery, the Blue Mountains. So that's obviously about nature in some sense. Yeah. Another parent here. Oh, wow. Excellent. Thanks for coming out. It's pretty good. Curiosity Kid, you are here. Thanks for being here. Always here, I think. Curiosity Kid. Yeah. I have some regulars on the stream. We might not have a very large live audience, but I think the audience is quite loyal. Almost everyone here, uh, I'd say, might be familiar to me. All right, so that's it for nature. We're not going in depth in any of the poems. We're just looking at what poems might come up in terms of the theme nature. All right, what about places? There are some poems that particularly focus on places, specific areas, maybe different kinds of landscapes, maybe countries, maybe cities. In what poems can we see that emphasis on different places? Yes, Curiosity Kid, I hope your students are here. Maybe they might not be on the live now, but I hope they will at least watch the playback after the live ends. Hi, Suzette. Thanks for being here. So, looking at places, in what points do we see an emphasis on various places? Maybe contrasts, maybe between places could be one angle. So, let me know in the chat what you think. Where are we seeing places? Anyone seeing any emphasis on places for any of these poems?
Absolutely.
Okay, the chat is a little slow this morning. I think the coffees have not yet been brewed. I don't know. The chats are a bit slow. In the meantime, Melina and I will just talk about where we think we can find emphasis on places in these poems. So, Melina, what do you think?
Oh,
Places.
again, from just everything is superficial because some I
Yeah.
have read and some I have not. So I'll look at the titles of the poem. So, of course, when we say landscape painter, Jamaica, we're talking about our very own Caribbean island, right?
Yeah.
The landscape that is there, right? So, I believe it would be referring to a place. Sonnet composed upon Westminster Bridge. I remember doing it, and
Yeah.
right is not just specific to London, right? But
Mm-hmm.
specifically to this piece of infrastructure that lies there, the bridge.
Mm.
Right? Um,
Nice.
Test match Sabina Park for sure. Yeah. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's the West Indies, USA, right? That's
Obvious one.
that contrast between the two regions, right? So in terms of, and of course, south sounds like a direction, so it's pointing me if I have to
Yeah.
just guess, right?
Yeah.
I think those are the predominant ones. The I'm not saying that there won't be references to places or the
Mm-hmm.
theme or the sub theme of a place in the others, but it may not be as prevailing. And I think that is what a theme is supposed to be, a prevailing idea in the literary work, right?
Yeah.
And as we are talking about here, a prevailing idea in the poem. So
Yeah.
that is what I
That,
have from the top of my head. Yes.
nice. I think the top of your head is very well nurtured, Melina. These are some good selections. And
Mm.
I just want to reinforce a point that Melina just made. When we're looking at a theme, we're not just looking at one or two instances or references to something. It needs to kind of run throughout the poem. It needs to be a very important aspect of the poem. So if maybe you find just one reference to a place, that might not be enough to say places would necessarily be a theme. But if you're finding many references, or if the poem is about a place, then definitely it could be a theme. All right, let me see what's happening in the comments here. We see some support for sonnet. Suzette, Curiosity Kid say sonnet. Yeah, definitely. We see the the whole thing about the bridge, London Bridge, and we see specific places. We see mention made. We're not looking at the specific poems this morning. So if you have your textbooks, if you have your World of Poetries, please be sure to skim through and reference the texts. And I'm not looking at the text either, so it's off the top of my head. So in sonnet composed upon Westminster Bridge, we have references made to. It's not a church. What is it? Uh, temples,
Yeah.
ships, theaters, like different types of places within the city. So not just the bridge, not just the city, but different places specifically. And by the way, uh, public commendations to Melina. I dragged her onto the live stream just a few minutes before we started. So she doesn't really have much background on what I'm thinking specifically because she jumped. I asked her to jump on last minute, so this is why she might be saying from time to time, off the top of my head and stuff like that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's on me entirely, and I kind of like the spontaneous thought as well. To be honest, I think that's pretty cool. Rico says West Indies, USA. Yeah, we have that contrast between the West Indies and the USA. Oh, Suzette says this is the dark time. Oh, okay.
Mm.
Perhaps we could look at how it focuses on like a particular country. We're not sure what country. I mean, we know what country it is by the context of the poem, but it's not stated within the text. So yeah, we could say the poem looks at a particular place. It's not one of the main themes in terms of main ideas, but it's there. It's there. We see more support for West Indies, USA. Suzette says it is the constant image. I am inclined to agree. It is the constant image of your face. We are seeing, well, one interpretation of the poem would say that there are two places being discussed, maybe a home country and a country of refuge. So we could say that places come up quite a bit. Yeah. All right. These are some good selections. What did I think of beforehand? Uh I thought of these five. West Indies, USA, South with the South versus North. I didn't have This Is the Dark Time or It Is the Constant Image on my list because the places were not specifically mentioned in the poem. And I think there are other themes that might rank much higher in those poems. It doesn't mean that places could not be argued as a theme, but I didn't look at it that way. And remember, these lists are very subjective. It's not as if I have the correct list anyway. Lionheart says countries in general, but sounds more focusing on social aspects. The social aspect and uh, what I say. What do you say might be the main theme, Melina, of This Is the Dark Time?
Mm. Some type of conflict.
Yeah,
Thinking, I'm thinking, probably like oppression.
oppression. That is it.
Um,
Yeah,
just now I'm thinking,
yeah.
maybe,
Patriotism, maybe
maybe,
nationalism.
yeah, patriotism, all of that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking war, some type of conflict, you know,
Yeah.
right? Because there's certainly some type of unrest happening in the
Mm-hmm.
poem, and then of course we have some of the more direct clues with the boot and all of that, letting you know that there's a soldier, and of course soldiers are associated
Yeah.
with war, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, those things. But this is a dark time. I'm not. I would say it may not be like a main theme, but you would definitely get the theme of a place when you
Mm-hmm.
know the background of the author and all of that,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Shit, I can't remember. Martin
Mm-hmm.
Carter. This is
Yeah,
Martin.
yeah. Martin Carter
Oh,
from
praise God.
Guyana.
Yes, so
Yeah.
definitely there. And in terms of what's the other one? It is the constant image of your of your face.
Mm.
Um it may not be as specific in terms of naming a place, but there is the having allegiance to the place, having that love for a specific place. It embodies the theme of patriotism, and of course you can't have patriotism without that love for a place,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right, so it goes hand in hand, but in terms of how it is manifested in the poem, it is the constant image of what I would say, more of patriotism. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
and of course place, but because the place is not specifically named, then to say that
Mm-hmm.
place is a theme, um it's, I would just say it's ticklish. I can't say absolutely yes or no, but I would
Mm-hmm.
say it's more of the love for the place than place itself.
Yeah, I fully agree there. I'm not thinking it's about the specific place. Like with Landscape Painter Jamaica, the poem is really focusing on the beauty of the Blue Mountains, and the whole thing centers on that. West Indies, USA, we are seeing a direct contrast between the West Indies and the USA. In these other two poems, uh, This Is the Dark Time and Constant Image, this places are there because you can't have patriotism without a place to be patriotic too.
Mm,
And you can't have an invasion as we have in This Is the Dark Time without a place to invade. But I would say that the places aren't the main thing.
yes,
So you could perhaps argue, the importance or significance of places in these poems, but it wouldn't necessarily be one of the top themes. I think
right.
that's how I would put it.
And also, just to interject, that you said that the importance of doing the themes would be to, of course, that is how the questions are based. That is what they are
Yeah.
based on. And it's not to say that the other two will be completely ruled out, because depending on how they phrase or they input theme in the question, they could still be applicable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they normally not just, they wouldn't just put like places or nature. They would give like a phrase: nature is such and such, or places are paramount, or something to something, and then
Yeah.
you can do as you think is relevant with the
Mm-hmm.
poems as it applies to the theme.
Yeah, that's true. So when looking at the themes, we're not just looking at a theme in a bubble. We're looking at different ways in which a theme can be approached. We're looking at different angles. So yeah, based on how the question is phrased, you might be able to use one of these outer poems, in places. All right, I think we've looked enough at places. Bam, culture. What would we say are the culture poems? Poems that really focus on culture or an aspect of culture.
Culture. Ooh.
Culture. What poems jump out?
Hmm. Again, you'll see.
Yes, you can jump in at any point, Melina.
Oh, I think I was just going to wait for the viewers to give their input.
Mhm. All right. Let's give them 30 seconds to tell us what they think. And you don't have to try to list all the culture poems, people. You can just list the ones that come to mind immediately because you wouldn't have been prepared, for this specific kind of exchange. But whatever comes to mind when you think culture, which poems jump out at you? We have a colleague here saying bird shooting season, and I would have to agree.
Ooh.
I'm not even sure if it's on my list, but I think culture is a big part of this poem. And by the way, you can list a poem and also give a brief reason
Mm-hmm.
or explanation for why you think that theme is present. So, Curiosity Kid, if you want to tell us how you think culture comes out in this poem, that would give us even more help.
Yes. West Indies,
Uh,
yes.
how do I pronounce this first name? Oh my. Ifula. Ifula. Oh my goodness. Mayors. Sorry, I stick with mayors for now. So, mayors, how are we seeing culture in West Indies, USA? I'll just highlight as we go along. West Indies, USA. Where is West Indies?
Yes.
All Haig from Suzette. So let me know. After you list of poems, let me know how you're seeing culture in these poems. And culture is a theme that is connected to places as well. Because
Yes.
if you have a culture, you must have a place in which that culture resides. So we're going to encounter some themes that might overlap quite a bit in terms of the poems that might explore those themes. So we're not looking at the themes in isolation. It's a web of themes, not really a list of themes. It's a whole web of interconnecting ideas, overlaps. Bird shooting seasoning. Seasoning. Am I hungry? I'm not hungry. Bird shooting season. I can definitely see the culture of gender norms in the, I would say, maybe 80s or 70s Caribbean. I'm not sure what the time setting of that poem is, but it doesn't seem like it's super modern. What do you think, Melina? I think it's
Which,
a couple of years in the past. Bird
which,
shooting season.
but, hmm. Well, what I think is that when you're talking about something like culture,
Mm-hmm.
that as you said, it could be very overlapping, it's very widespread, it's very ubiquitous in terms of what it could be applied to and all
Mm-hmm.
of that. Because then I think is what is culture. It's the arts. It would be the ideas, social behavior, all of
Mm-hmm.
that. So, but it would also be, we're talking about it being specific to a particular region, a
Yeah.
particular area, or something like that, right? Well, just thinking from the top of my head. So yes, bird shooting season. Let me see. Yeah, but
Yeah.
you know, um, I'm not sure if it is really well. Yeah, I would say so.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm thinking culture is a part of it. Like, a part of their social behavior in terms of
Yeah.
are gendered on what they do, their lifestyle, their routine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, their routine as it pertains to males. In terms of socializing them, in terms of
Yeah.
the very act of bird shooting would be that is their custom. You
You're
know,
right, right.
customs are part of culture.
Yeah.
You know, so
So,
yes. Mm-hmm.
mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We see the custom. It's like a tradition being explored. It's the time when we shoot birds, or when the men shoot birds and the women, do whatever.
Yeah.
And we're seeing we're seeing not just a culture in general, like in what is it? Once upon a time, we have like a general exploration of like culture, but non-specific. But in bird shooting season, I think the setting, it's not a specific country that is mentioned, but it sounds like Jamaica, but I'm sure it's Caribbean. Sounds like Jamaica, but I'm not sure. But I'm sure it's Caribbean culture being
Yes, it
explored.
sounds like a lot of Caribbean islands.
It could be. I might be biased in saying it sounds like, but some of the foods mentioned,
Mm.
but there might also be cultural foods of other Caribbean countries that I don't know. But I know
Mm-hmm.
for Jamaica, like what is it? Cirrus. Uh, what is it? There was a list of foods in like the middle
Yes,
stanza.
there's a chocolata, serasi, there's rapone, there's pone in Trinidad as well. You know,
Ah.
Thai leaf. Yeah, so definitely, yes, I'm seeing it now. Definitely, that reference to culture and that embodiment of culture in it. But definitely Caribbean culture. I think that would be the safest thing to go with, to say Caribbean.
Mm-hmm,
You
mm-hmm.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. Curiosity Kid. I'm blocking at the fact that it was a traditional sport that. Oh, so you're talking about uh,
Okay.
Sabina test match. I
Yes.
guess you're mentioning test match. We can see culture, that culture of cricket culture, and also in the interactions of the West Indians. How they speak, and we see like the language element as well. So yeah, there are definitely elements of culture there. Where's test match? Okay. Andrea says it is the constant image. Andrea, you will have to justify that, because I am personally finding it hard to call culture one of the top themes in that poem. So, Andrea, let me know what aspect of culture you are seeing jump out in that poem. I'll wait on you while I check on the other comments. Yeah, we looked at test
Yes,
match once
yes.
upon a
I will
time.
also like to second or third or fourth test match as well,
Yeah.
right? And I like how they have, and then it wouldn't just be just one culture in test match.
Mm-hmm.
There would be I guess that Western culture or that English culture opposed to
Mm-hmm.
the Caribbean culture. They made reference to things like the Hampshire drawl and all of that. So language is incorporated into the culture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. 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 For sure. So we're seeing. Oh, Curiosity Kid is talking about bird shooting. Oh, shooting the birds. You said sport. Sorry, I went to cricket when you mentioned sport, but you're talking about bird shooting as a sport. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, that's clear. Thank you for clearing that up. But your explanation kind of worked for test match as well. It just happened to work. Yeah. Do you
And
see
then
culture anywhere else? Yes, Melina.
there's Old Hig. I think I don't know what it would be called in other Caribbean countries, but we call it
Mm.
a supunia in Trinidad,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so then there's reference to what I would say is Caribbean folklore. This
Yes.
this old lady that sheds her skin, right, and somehow turns into a ball of fire and goes out in search of now according to the poem it would be baby's blood, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right, so there's that is um I wouldn't say that it is like some norm or custom, but the norm, the is what the evidence of culture in it the evidence of culture in it is from the actual story itself, that folklore
Right.
story being told in or through the poem.
Mm-hmm. So that's another aspect of culture: the storytelling, the folklore, the history.
Right.
So culture is not just current culture, but it's also the historical aspect
Yes.
of it, the folklore aspect. So that's another way in which we explore culture. Menon says, "Oh, welcome, Menon. Menon, you've been here." Menon says, "A stone's throw. Ooh, would culture really be top theme?"
I think it well, we don't that is the culture of that pastime. That
Ah, yeah.
woman must be chaste or chaste, depending on how you pronounce it. And
Mm,
a stone's throw, I believe it is. Sorry, my biblical knowledge is off, but it is based on that story of um a prostitute, I believe,
mm,
or this promiscuous woman in the Bible, and she is
mm-hmm,
stoned and punished, ridiculed by these men. But I would say yes, and that's the thing about this theme of culture. I see the theme of culture being more, in the second question, the way that they ask it, where you could just choose which two poems to apply to, because as I said before, it is so ubiquitous. It's just pervasive to a lot of the poems. So
mm-hmm.
I mean, I can't say definitely yes or no, but yes, culture, because that was their norm, that was their custom, that was accepted. It was not something deviant for the men to do in terms of throwing stones. They thought that they were justified in doing it. Until what is it? They said the guru came and he turned her eyes on them or something like
Mm-hmm.
that, right? So that was the norm of that time. I mean, if you compare it now to the time that we live in now, you know.
Yeah, I agree. And Menon said it's not a major theme. And it could be a major theme depending on how you look at it and depending on how the question is phrased. It There are really no answer set in stone in terms of what theme you see in a poem.
Mm-hmm.
It really depends on how you want to approach it, because you can find culture in so many of these poems. Look at, if I take almost a random poem here, I listen for this Sunday. I can find some way to say there's culture there. South, we can say there might be a comparison between the culture of Caribbean countries versus the Western world or whatever. In Mirror, we can even talk about how we, as a 21st century world, focus too much on the outer appearance and on the
Yes.
self and stuff like that. And that could be, we could even talk about social media addiction. So it depends on how we want to view it. We're just trying to get some ideas as to what we might consider, because we're just throwing some ideas out there, but there are definitely no answers that are necessarily definitely right or definitely wrong. Menen says dreaming black boy. I could see elements of culture there as
Mm-hmm.
well, but it's just about how you explain and about how the examiner chooses to ask the question.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. All right, let me see what I had beforehand. I'll have to amend my lists based on this discussion. I have West Indies, USA, South Test match once upon a time, but I would add Old Haig because of what we discussed. And I would also add, what else? I think there was another one. Do I have bird shooting season? Bird shooting season is another main one. So yeah, this is just my personal list, but I think whatever points we highlight here could definitely be considered as well. On to the next theme. Right. Composed. Oh, sorry, I have my. This is annotated already. My bad. Anyway, what do you think are the identity poems? I was testing out the black pen on the screen. Sorry about that. Identity. What do we think?
Hmm. Identity.
Identity. That sense of who I am or who you are. What poems do we think explore questions around that or ideas around that? I'm waiting in the chat. Let me know. Okay, we see Mirror Menen. Briefly tell us how you find identity in Mirror. Why are we looking at cultures again? Should be looking at identity.
And she said mirror. Um,
Mirror, mirror, mirror on the wall. So Menen, tell me how we're seeing identity in Mirror. Dreaming black boy, my parents. So Menen says this woman is trying to find herself, trying to find beauty. Okay, so she is looking at the beauty as herself, trying to find her beauty is in her mind equivalent to finding herself. Okay, that's
and
that's a that's a take on it. Yes, Melina.
yes, I agree with is it Menon? Yes, and then the persona would have that refusal to accept her change, evolving identity. The
Mm.
fact that she is growing old or older. You know,
Hmm.
I
That's
don't.
right.
Yes. Mhm. So that's mirror. Shooting semester. Hmm. Identity. Once upon a time.
All right. Any other explanations? Menen, you have like 4 points here. And you say in my parents, the boy is trying to fit in. So is he trying to? So how does identity come into that? Identity. Oh, but by the way, please ignore the black markings on the screen. I don't think this is my list or anything. I was just testing out the black pen. So because I definitely think that's not a poem
Yeah,
to
it was.
look at.
I was
Yeah.
wondering. I was wondering. Right. So
Yeah.
for sure, I'm seeing mirror.
Yeah.
Um. Yeah, I could see the West Indies, USA. The
Mm,
two different cultures, two different
mm,
identities. That
mm.
someone. What about test match Sabina Park?
I think so.
Mhm.
I think so. Yeah. I think so.
It actually starts with proudly wearing the rosette of my skin. I strut into Sabina. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's that
Yeah.
person. In this crowd looking at cricket, they're struggling with their identity, even among the crowd at something, as simple and recreational as a cricket match.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Yeah. And we see a speaker who is so pompous in his racial identity.
yes.
And then we see the West Indians who become defensive.
Mhm.
They are also proud of their own identity. A part of their identity is, hey, we're good at cricket, so don't come here showing off as if you're any cricket expert.
Mhm.
Ironically, the Englishmen did invent the game, but I think we have surpassed them in terms of skill. Menon says maybe he's trying to find himself in it, in find himself. Oh, talking about my parents. Okay, all right. I think I see where you're going. Where you're going with that. All right. Any other poems from your end, Melina? Identity poems.
Again, I see identity
Mm-hmm.
similarly to the way that I saw culture, that it is something that it will find its way into many poems if you know how to explain it properly,
Yeah.
if you know how to make that link,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Very true.
Yeah.
I
um
agree.
I could see it in my parents as well. I could see it in oh yes,
Mhm.
it is
Oh
the
yeah, yeah,
second.
yeah. I'm still hearing. Yeah. Mm.
All he identity.
Yeah. I saw identity in all high because it seemed as if the Haig was struggling with her identity as a Haig. You
Yes,
know, kind of. She's trapped in her own identity, similar to the dreaming black boy.
and similar
Where
to the child in my parents, he wants to be
yeah,
more. Yes.
yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
it's in these poems, it's almost trying to escape your identity. The
Yes.
old Haig, she's so stressed out about the fact that she can't help it.
Mm-hmm.
She's drawn to the baby blood. I am just a hag. That's who I am. That's my
Mm-hmm.
identity. So what do you expect me to do about it? That's the kind
Mm-hmm.
of attitude I see, at least in the first couple of stanzas.
Yes, if only the blood didn't smell so sweet. Or I
Yeah,
can't remember how it was phrased in the
yeah,
poem.
yeah, yeah.
There is that struggle to accept also versus what is probably instinctual to her. I would
Mm-hmm.
see it more as a creature, not as a human. So it's just a creature. So it's this drive. You smell the blood and you have to go to it. You have,
Yeah.
yeah. You surrender to your natural instincts.
Welcome, Miss Anderson. You've made it.
Welcome. Thank you. Yes, I have. Greetings to everyone.
Greetings
Greetings.
to you as well.
Greetings.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's good to be here.
Yes, Antoinette. Yeah, yeah. So we're just looking at the themes in these poems, and we're just discussing what poems might jump out at us when we think of these themes.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can just jump in whenever you like.
All right, I will.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Michelle, greetings. Jeremy says West Indies, USA. I think we looked at that one. Menon says Dreaming Black Boy. All right, let's jump along to another theme. I might have about 20 themes here, so let's pick up the pace. Race. What poems deal with race? This is one of the more, I think, straight and narrow themes where you have a bit less leeway to just squeeze it into any poem. Culture, identity, we can force that into almost any poem. But race, I
Yes,
think we
it
have
has
to
to
know
be
the race
Yes.
poems.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a more specific theme. So in the chat, what do you guys think are the race
Definitely,
poems?
definitely dreaming black boy. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
That's the most.
Yeah, that's from Jeremy Lloyd, says Dreaming Black Boy. So let's highlight that one. This one is about race, the main theme, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Menon says West Indies, USA. I think this is one of the secondary themes in this poem. In my view, it's more regional identity, but race is a part of that. In my view, chess match. I think so.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. It started off with talking about skin color. Yeah.
exactly. From line one, we start talking about white skin and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Any other poems from the teachers here on set? Race.
I'm thinking about an African thunderstorm.
Me
It,
too.
it yes, it would jump out at first for most persons, but when you actually look at the background information of the poem, then you will
Mhm.
realize that it has a lot to do with race.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. And we'll find that it also depends on how we want to interpret the poem because, like, there are, I
Yes.
think, two main lines of interpreting the poem. Some people say it's just about a literal storm, others say it's about colonialism. So if you take the
Yes.
colonial route, then race is going to be a factor for sure. Yeah. Anything else, Melina? Are you seeing race anywhere else?
Just now. We said test match. Um,
South?
that is what I was going to look at. I was going to look at.
Mm.
I was just going to do like of course, a superficial skim of it. But I
Mm.
had to. I'm struggling to find the page right now. But I'm not sure. I won't say south until I actually look at the poem. This
Mm.
Okay.
in the show time here. Where would south be for
South.
race?
I think it's similar to
Unfortunately.
West Indies USA in that it might not be like a main theme, but it's important to the subject matter of the poem.
Mm-hmm.
You agree,
Uh,
Miss Anderson?
yes, I agree with you, Mr. Webb. And I'm also thinking about the woman speaks to the man who employs her son.
Mm.
That one, again, it's not jumping out at you, and I don't think it's a main theme, but I think there's a little undertone of it when you actually read the poem. So again, it's not a main theme. I would say it's really subtle then, because
So,
we could probably associate you know, the woman's living conditions to poverty. And then, if we are being a little bit deep, we could probably link poverty to race and something like that. It's a bit far fetched, but I'm just
mm.
thinking maybe there could be a subtle
Mm.
hint of it.
Oh, I have not really seen race being, I don't know. I could see more gender than race,
Gender. Okay.
but it's also not really a gender poem. But I kind of see some connections to gender. Even looking at the
Okay.
title, we see woman, we see man, we see son. We see kind of an emphasis on the gender of these personae. But race for me, you'd have to explain a bit more for me to see the race
Yeah.
part.
I was just thinking, maybe, as I said, it's a bit far fetched, but
Mm,
again,
mm,
I wouldn't say it's a main theme. I wouldn't.
mm.
So
All right.
maybe we can just take that one off for now.
All right. All right.
Let's just scrap that one for now. I would have to really read it again and see, if it could possibly be used. But it wouldn't be a main theme.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to remember the poem.
Yes,
Race.
I'm pulling it up now to
Mm,
see. I'm pulling it up.
I see the poverty. You mentioned the poverty. I definitely see
Yes,
that.
yes, the poverty.
But I'm wondering,
And
is
Adam,
race connected? Yeah.
in the poem, isn't it from my memory? I need to
Mm,
read the poem, but isn't it about a lady who is from a particular part of remind me, I'm not 100% sure. A particular part of America, is it America?
I, I, I. Wait. Let me find the poem. Just a minute,
Yes, let
because
us find the poem because I'm searching for it and it's not coming up.
I I'm not remembering any specific place like that. All right. Let me
Place.
see. Let
Okay.
me let me um. Let me
I'm
Which
find the
trying
part
to
are
go
poem
you
off
on?
my
real
long
quick.
term memory.
Michelle
All
said
right.
social status. Yeah. All right.
Maybe we can get back to
Let me
it.
find the poem.
Which poem are we on?
Eh,
The woman speaks to the
Oh,
non.
uh, yeah, we're trying to see if there's
um,
sufficient racial.
huh, probably
All
from
right.
a
Let me.
very stereotypical point of view of black people having those types of struggles or something.
Yes, that's where I
Mm.
was coming from.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that they didn't seem to have a lot of money, it would seem as if they're coming from a, as you said, poor background. And then, I would kind of link the poverty to being black, because if,
Okay.
yes, so that's where I was going at it. Not in all circumstances,
Mm.
but in dealing with
Yes,
the poem
yes.
only. So I'm not
To
saying every black people is poor. I'm just, making the reference to the poem.
I see a black cloth here.
well, yes. And I think I understand what you're saying. I think it would be more obvious to us, let's say, if the man who employed the son, if he were white or
Yes.
Mm.
obviously of a different color, I think it would be more obvious there. But for
Yes.
now, for me,
Yes.
personally, to say that there is race in it, it would really be um, from a very, very stereotypical point of view,
Okay.
and to say, well, this situation is stereotypical of just black people, and
Yes.
to
Mm.
me that will be yes. And I'm not, it is, to me it is a stereotype, and I'm saying it is also a reality. But to me, in terms of teaching it as such,
I wouldn't, yes, we wouldn't
it
teach it as a race poem
yes, because
because it
then
would be very difficult for the students to
yes.
really prove that point
Well,
or
I mean,
prove
it
that
could be.
analysis.
Yes, it could be, but it is a I because then you would say, okay, maybe you don't want to teach them to teach it to the students to perpetuate such a stereotype and such a stretch. But then
Mm.
maybe depending on the background of your students, they may more identify with it. They may be able to relate it depending
True.
on the bunch of students
That's
that you
true.
have. So it's, to me, it's not a total rule out. You know.
Mm.
Okay. Okay. Got you.
Right. But South, I am seeing I found South and then I lost it.
Mm-hmm. What are
But
we saying about South?
I believe so. But I have to find back South. You see, this is I'm going through the whole book. But I think in terms of there are these images, and if you take the images of, I can't remember. What I remember is that when I read it, I just got this feeling as though I'm on the ship again in Anansi. That is what the feeling that I.
Ah.
And I remember them talking about the white sails and something else. So they're not talking specifically about the skin tone, but if you take it from a symbolic point of view, then maybe you can make the parallel, or that reference to race. This is what we're talking about. So I think there's something to do with the white sails, and then something else. Right.
Oh.
No, the shadows is what I took to have
Wow.
that relationship to blackness or something like that. And then of course that the water and the sea and all of that is significant to black people as well. So I would say yes, but maybe it is a stretch depending on how you look at it. But then again, it is poetry, and we um
Mm-hmm.
we look to the figurative, so we can't totally rule it out. But definitely, when I looked at the shadows and something to do with the white sails, and of course the whole aspect of water, the sea, and all of that going back there. But it's, I mean, race, a part of identity, a part of culture as well.
Yes.
Wow. Interesting takes.
Mhm.
Michelle Darling, you say Caribbean, Caribbean what? Caribbean identity, Caribbean culture. It's difficult to really pinpoint some poems looking at a theme without looking at an application of the theme. And
Yes.
in the exam, we're going to get an application. We're going to get a specific angle that we have to work. So now it's kind of up in the air, and we might find race in all kinds of poems depending on, how we want to angle it. And that's just how it is.
Yes. Yes.
Hi, Nadika. Thanks for coming out, English B student. All right, let me see what I had for race. I had these. See, I had South, even though race isn't explicitly mentioned. I still had South anyway
Okay.
because I could definitely see like the North versus South. It felt in some senses like a kind of white versus black ish, and I could see like the historical um context. I even saw some references to like the slave trade and stuff like that. But it
Yes.
depends on how you read the poem. And I think the other three here are kind of easy to see. Mm. Yeah, so these are just my ideas. Of course, doesn't mean they're right, but I have South here. If you want to say there's
Yes.
no race in South, and fine, I can't argue with. I can't really fight you.
Yes,
But for
because it's
me, I
written.
can.
Yeah, I can
Mm,
see, but it's similar to is that stretch where you really have to make it figurative to find the race theme in it.
yeah, yeah. I think I could write an essay on South being connected to race, but it depends on how you understand the metaphors and the imagery and stuff like that. As Melina is saying, you might see it as referring to race or not. So each reader has the right to find their own interpretation. All right, so I think we can move away from race. Let's jump along to power and powerlessness.
Okay.
Where do we see people having power or people not having power? People being empowered, people being disempowered.
Ah.
Where do we
A
see
stone
I
throw.
want to
this?
start with go ahead, Melina. Go
Oh,
ahead.
I just said to me the poem that is in my mind is a stone's throw for sure because I believe the best.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
Is that what you're bringing up, Miss Anderson?
No, I was bringing up something that probably is a bit contradictory. I don't know.
Oh,
I was gonna
y-
say something a bit contradictory. I
yeah,
was gonna
say it,
start
say
with
it.
bird shooting season.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
With the
Looking at
women or the
the
birds being
women,
powerless.
yes, the women. We
Okay.
could look at it from both standpoints, but I was more leaning towards women, kind of gender, I would say
Yeah.
gender roles. So,
Uh,
I wanted to link that to being powerful and, powerless.
okay.
So, right. So that's
I
what I
can
was
see that.
thinking. The other one,
Estelin says a stone's throw. Definitely. That's like top of
yeah,
my
that's the
list.
main one.
Top of my list. Oh, this is the dark time. Okay.
Yes, I can
This is
see
the
that.
dark
I can
time.
see this is a dark time.
I don't know. I don't know. I see the angle, but are these people really powerless? The persona is the speaker. I think he's in a position where he's saying, look, these people are coming, we're under attack, but maybe we should be militant. We should, be cognizant of what's happening. I don't think the speaker is necessarily in this position where he feels like all hope is lost. It might depend on how
No.
you read it, but I'm not really seeing. I can see this, the power imbalance between the invading nation and the nation being invaded. So from that angle, fine, fine, fine. So I guess it depends on how you wanna
And
explain it. So
this
okay.
is this is a dark time, my love.
Hmm. This is the dark time. So yeah, I guess it's there.
Yes, and for this is a dark time, it wouldn't be a case where we think that the people, right, are powerless. But in the situation that they're in, it would seem as if the invaders would have the upper hand. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking that's probably where she was looking at it from. So I agree with her. But it's not
Yeah. Yeah.
necessarily that they were powerless. It's just that they
Hmm.
were at a disadvantage compared
Hmm.
to the invaders.
Hmm. Yeah. I can see the idea of one nation having power over another, kind of similar to an African
Yes.
thunderstorm. So in that case, yeah. 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 Yeah.
I also see the powerlessness in the person that he is speaking to, the whoever
Ah.
is
Yeah. Yeah.
referring to as my love, because even compared to the persona does have to me some degree of power or more power compared to that person, because she is either asleep or just waking up, or I think she is asleep, but he's still aware
Hmm.
that there's this
Hmm.
invasion happening. So there is some power, some degree of power in being aware and being able to react. But she
Yes.
has less power because she is just um asleep.
Hmm.
And now the idea of sleep there is also to me, just from a superficial reading, is still very blurry, because
Hmm.
when we go into the figurative, we could take sleep to mean many different things. You know,
Yeah.
this
And
whole line could be something ironic or paradoxical. Sleep could be symbolic of actual death. All these things could happen. You know,
hmm
but I am seeing that the my love that he's referring to as being in a position of relative powerlessness.
hmm I like that term, relative powerlessness. I like that term a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And you talked about the sleep. Nowadays, we have this whole thing of being woke. I am woke, meaning I am aware of what's happening.
Yes.
So that sleep could also be just you know a lack of awareness. When we're sleeping, we're literally unaware of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So someone who is asleep, metaphorically, they're not noticing what's happening around them, so they can't
Yeah.
react, they can't respond, they can't defend. So
Mm-hmm.
being awake, the speaker has some sense of power, I think, because I think the speaker is awake and trying to wake up the people, like, come on, brethren, get up, something's happening here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Looking in the chat here, we see the woman speaks. Okay, I can see the powerlessness in the woman powerless to stop her son from going down this dead
Mm-hmm.
end kind of thing. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And as we unfold the poem, it is her attempt to reclaim her power as it pertains to the son, to
Mm.
be that figure of power, or to exude her power upon him,
Mm-hmm.
because right now in the poem, it is the man, the employer, that has the power in the eyes of the son.
True.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So we have a number of levels at which we can look at the power versus powerlessness. In the son's eyes, it's the man who has power to, I guess, even employ him, and he's the big man.
Mm-hmm.
And in another sense, the woman is powerless against this man and also against her son. She can't change her son's mind.
Mm-hmm.
That's another aspect of it too. Jeremy talking about this is the dark time. Oh, in that last line, aiming at your dream
Yes.
could suggest that if someone is aiming at your dream, kind of powerless, I guess. But they're not shooting, they're just aiming. So maybe there's time to get out of the way. Who knows? Yes, the woman speaks. We definitely see powerlessness. My parents, man. Okay. My
Yes.
parents. How do we see powerlessness in this poem? How do we see power versus powerlessness? Uh is the child powerless against the bullies or powerless against the parents who are being overprotective? What angle are we taking in this point?
Both, yeah, I agree.
Mm. Kivo Legend says, "Dreaming Black Boy." Yeah, I
Yes.
can
Mm-hmm.
see that 100%. And
Mm-hmm.
this powerlessness is so real because unless you're gonna bleach out your skin, you can't change your race.
Yep.
So you're
Mm-hmm.
kind of trapped in your identity. You're trapped in this reality that you didn't even ask for. You didn't
Yes.
ask to be born black, and you didn't ask to be born in a racist world. What can you do about it? Yeah, and we see the devices bringing out the themes, the repetition. I wish, just showing that he can't do anything about it. All he can do is dream, as the title says. All right.
I could
Let's
see it
see.
also. Let's say I could see it also in Dulce. With
Oh,
the soldiers being powerless to this what you would call it, this motto, this propaganda that
mm,
is pleasant, there's the propaganda of patriotism, the old lie,
mm,
so they're powerless to that because even though but it is also something that is argumentative because the power that they chose to be, I assume they chose to be soldiers, and there's
Mm-hmm.
cognizance that you
That would
well,
happen.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it is possible, but but maybe the that motto started from even then, from then, believing, being powerless to the to this myth that it is admirable to be in a war, to fight for your country and all of that.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
true. Mm-hmm.
But
and then
also
yeah,
nice
and
they volunteered, yeah.
mm, yeah, definitely. And then the
Agreed.
policy works on a second level because if you're kind of trapped in this mindset that yeah, this is what honor is, this is glory, and you feed into that, you become a soldier, then the real powerlessness kicks in when you're on the battlefield facing death and there's nothing you can do.
You can do about it.
We
Mm-hmm.
see that speaker, we see that soldier dying from the gas attack, and he
Yes.
was there trying to fit on the mask, and the speaker couldn't help him. He couldn't help himself. He was powerless in that moment as well,
Moment.
right before his
Mm-hmm.
death.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have it on my list, but I definitely see how powerlessness
Yeah.
But
can be
I mean,
explored.
again, of course, I think power and powerlessness is one of those themes that if you do a proper close reading, you could probably see it in a good few of the poems. Because as I'm
Yeah.
saying that, I'm also kind of seeing it in Old Heat, where she's powerless to her own instincts to, you know,
Mm,
um, it seems as though she does not want to drink the baby's blood, but she just has to,
To
you know,
survive.
you
yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And I was also thinking, is it a case where we usually relate the power and powerless theme to gender roles? Is that something that we normally do? To answer my own question, I would say yes, we sometimes link powerless and power to gender, right?
Mm,
So when you look at a poem that has gender roles, somewhat you can find some power and powerlessness coming out of it.
Yes.
mm, okay. And yeah, I can see that in a stone's throw where the gender is inextricably linked to the
To
powerlessness
that,
because the,
yes.
the men have power because they're men in this
Men,
context.
right?
And the woman is
So
powerless just because she's a woman.
she's a
It's not because
female,
of her sin,
yes.
because other men would have committed that sin with that woman, right?
Right.
But they're not in the same
But yes,
situation.
but let me put a disclaimer out there though. Not
Mm,
in It's not in every case that you would
mm,
really see, power and powerlessness in terms of
yeah.
gender, because sometimes you have, a little bit of the opposite where, you know,
Mm,
female might not be at a disadvantage because of her
mm,
gender in terms of power powerlessness. So in not
yeah.
all cases, but in some
Yeah.
cases, you can. You just have to do
Yeah.
the analysis
Yeah.
and make sure you
And
have evidence
yeah.
from the
True.
poem.
And in
to
some
support.
poems, there might be a woman who's powerless, but not necessarily because she's a woman. Like in The Woman
Yes,
Speaks, there is a powerless woman, but I wouldn't say she's powerless because she's a
because
woman.
she's a woman. Yes, I
I'm not
agree with you,
seeing that
sir.
evidence there.
I
But in
agree.
some poems, it's like, and same for race. In some poems, for example, Dreaming Black Boy, this boy is powerless just because he's black,
Just
Right.
because he's black.
right? And in other poems, we might see race, but it might not necessarily connect to the powerlessness or the power.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it
Look,
all has to do with the angles that you look at it from,
mhm,
and again, with literature, no one answer is the right answer. You just have to have enough proof and evidence to support your arguments.
for sure. And look, Chestnut Savannah Park is a weird poem because when we look at how race, we're not looking at race now, but the race thing is kind of flipped in this poem, where usually we have, the white
The
person, the
black,
Caucasian
that's,
person being
yeah.
on top, but we kind of
Uh-huh.
see a switch in this poem
Switch,
where
yes, definitely.
the
The
West Indians
black.
are the ones who end up with the big talk and the power because they
Yes.
are the bigger cricket team, and they even
Yes.
outnumber
Yes.
the white man too.
Yeah, his
Kind of,
identity is
Yes.
strong. Yes.
yeah, yeah. So it's interesting. It's interesting. So power and powerlessness may or may not connect to race or gender.
Well, it may or may
Yes.
not, because I'm
Yeah.
also looking at an African thunderstorm, and maybe the landscape and the people, they are powerless to the storm itself.
Mm.
So it may not
Yeah.
be the most obvious theme in it, but
Mm-hmm.
if you really want to link it, like, I think it's possible.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very true.
That's why I love
Uh,
literature.
Kiva Legend. You're onto something here in Mirror. The the not the speaker. The persona here is powerless to change her age or reverse her age or become young again. Yeah, there are many. Would this be a
Mhm.
main theme? I don't know, but it's definitely there.
It's there. I see where you're
It
trying to
may
be
not be a main
arguing.
theme, but it is there. I
Yeah,
agree.
Yes.
it's there.
May not be, yeah, major,
Yeah,
but yeah, it's there.
yeah. All right, bam. Let's jump along. This is what I had beforehand. Oh wow, we
Little
haven't
boy
looked at
crying.
these.
Lit- yeah, little boy crying.
What
I
do you
was
think about
thinking
this?
about the I was thinking about the debt being abroad. I was thinking about it, but
Yeah. And this is another weird poem where the expectation is subverted because usually in a death poem, death is the one who has the power. But in this particular poem, we're seeing where the speaker is disempowering death and giving us the power by saying, hey, no need to fear death. Death is actually the one who is going to die in the end. So we're seeing kind of an exchange of power, or where the power is changing hands. That's how I look at death being not proud. That's how I saw this theme. What about little boy crying? Does anyone else see the little boy as being powerless against this towering ogre of a father in his mind?
yes, yes, I can see. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yes.
I see that.
I got a little nervous because no one mentioned that one.
No, no, no. I was thinking about it as well. I was thinking about it.
Okay.
And power
It's,
is used by the father to teach the lesson. Yes.
Yeah, that too. What about a lesson for this Sunday with the butterfly or nature being powerless against these kids who are basically torturers? Maybe not a main theme, but I think the butterfly is powerless, helpless. Yeah. I'm not sure if I would write an essay on powerlessness here, but I think it's
yeah, I
there.
wouldn't.
So yeah, for the students watching, the teachers list are gonna vary. It doesn't mean that we don't have any sense. It just means we have different perspectives. And as Melina keeps on saying, it also depends on how a question is structured, whether or not it can easily fit in a theme in a poem or fit in a poem in a theme. All right. What do we have next for theme? Hopes and
Wow.
desires. Who said wow?
I did.
Hopes and desires.
Can we start with bird shooting, where
Oh.
the children, or I think it's the little boys, if I'm not mistaken, who would want to grow up and be bird shooters one day. So yeah, that's what I was. That's the first thing that jumps off at me.
So the boys want to be bird shooters, and the girls are kind of trying to protect the birds. Saying "Fly, birds, fly." What about the women? Are we seeing where the women have a particular? Because we know the women are the ones making all the food, doing all the work, while the men are having fun, basically. But I'm not sure. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I guess in a sense, maybe the women. I'm getting where they don't seem so, fond
Mm.
of the old,
Yes, exactly.
happenings. So I'm getting a sense where they would probably want it to stop then. They would, if they could have it their way, they wouldn't be doing all that work and all of those things for the men to go out and shoot the birds.
But I wonder,
So
are they expressing this desire?
no, I think it
Um,
is.
mhm.
I think it is subtle. I'm not seeing
Yes,
where
Okay.
it
I
is
think
just
yes, I think the desire would be implied. So they are
yes.
Implied.
they're preparing the food and all the goodies for them to go all night long. And I'm just thinking, if I have to do that all night long, my desire would be to sleep.
Okay. Yeah.
I am thinking that, but it is, as she said, it is subtle, but you
Mm-hmm.
can make that
That
wanting,
inference.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that inference of it, yeah.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Michelle said
So
no.
yeah,
Michelle
the
said no. The
woman.
women did want to be a part of it.
Oh, they did. Oh, I misread the comment. I thought you were saying they did not. They did want to. So you're saying that the women are fine with what's happening. Oh, I see. I don't know if they're fine because they said the speaker said contentless women at some point in the poem.
Yeah, the word choice. Some
Yes,
of the words that were used suggest that it wouldn't be a positive feeling, from the
exactly.
women.
Yes,
They're at least annoyed, I think. At the very
Yes.
least, I'm not sure if I would say they're oppressed, but they're at least not necessarily happy with
Or
what they have to be
enthusiastic.
doing or enthused. Yeah, yeah. I might put it that way. Someone said dreaming black boy for hopes and desires. Yeah,
yes,
Yes, definitely.
100%.
Definitely. 100%.
Dreaming for a better world where he can realize his potentials, where he can express himself and not be discriminated against.
Yes, that's a must. And my parents as well.
yes,
Yeah, and someone else said bread and butter says my parents too. Yeah.
yes.
Yes, my parents.
Hmm.
And mirror.
Mirror. Mirror, mirror on the wall. Mirror. Yeah. Hopes and desires. I could see that. I
That
see more despair. Well, I see the desire. I don't know. I don't know if I see the hope because is this woman really hoping to not age? Is she insane? But I see the desire to like be young again. I
Yeah.
guess
yeah, there's the
I see
Yes.
the
desire.
desire.
She keeps going back to the mirror, whether
Yeah.
it's an actual rectangular square mirror, whether it is the water. She keeps
Mm-hmm.
going back to it. So there's the desire there to be young, for the mirror to lie to her and show her this young, beautiful woman when she is actually wrinkled and aging.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Looking at the chat here, uh, you know, we mentioned my parents. Once upon a time is coming up too.
Yes, yes.
Yes, once upon a time, yes, it's definitely there.
Oh, Michelle is correcting that statement, right? Right, Michelle, you're saying the
Oh,
women
it's a
did
typing
not want
error.
to be a part of it. Okay, so we're
Okay.
we're on the same page.
Same.
Once upon a time, teachers, are we seeing
Yes.
Yes.
yeah? What is the desire of the speaker in Once Upon a Time?
To reclaim that innocence, that genuine, that that realness, you know,
Hmm.
Yes, you said it
that lack of
perfectly.
hypocrisy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think he even said explicitly, "Teach me, son, how to be like you," something like that.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
How to unlearn all of these is it muting
muting
things?
things. Yeah,
Yeah.
such a nice line.
I was going to say numbing. I'm paraphrasing from the top of my head.
Yeah, muting. I remember it's not a poem that I particularly like, but I like that line. Unlearn
Oh,
these muting things.
oh, I love Once Upon a Time.
Think it's just
Yes.
too long.
It is so real. These things, it is so real that
Yes.
But people say, "Oh, you're a hypocrite," but it is survival. We can't help
Mm,
it.
Yes. And it is so relevant, even today. It's so relevant.
Yes.
Especially today with the whole social media thing, and everybody's putting on a face on a front,
Yes.
Yes.
and
You're
and
right.
nowadays this whole thing of everybody wants to be politically correct and woke and say the right thing. No, it's like no one has the guts to really express an opinion anymore when you
Exactly.
think about it. And this man wants to get back to that time when he could just talk his mind and not care what you think.
Yeah.
Yes.
And smile when he means to smile, and sneer when he means.
Oh.
Hmm.
But imagine being that honest for one day in real life. You would lose a job, first of all.
Staff meetings would be
But
hell. Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
true.
board meetings would have to be called.
Oh my Lord.
Because imagine I just tell a student straight up, I don't want you in my class. I don't like you. Just come out.
Oh.
I'm not up to it right now. I don't feel like teaching you.
Oh
If I
Lord.
were to be real, 100% real. Oh gosh, life I wouldn't survive a
Lot
week.
of trouble. Yes.
And then when we even give the example and we say these things, then the students look at it and they say, "Miss, you're talking about me, Mister. It's me you're talking about, sir."
But students, you should be honest too. If you could be honest to us teachers all the time, I'm not saying you hate us, but sometimes you might have a feeling where this,
Something is not right, and you just don't want to say, Miss, I don't
yeah,
agree with this,
and
because
you
what
wouldn't
the
even say it so
teacher.
nicely. You
Miss,
if
that
you were to
wrong.
say what you're thinking all the time, we wouldn't have any relationships left in the world. You
Yes.
know,
That is true.
so
Because sometimes even in my classes when I am,
mhm,
we're analyzing something, and I say so and so, they say, Miss, really? I said, yeah, man. And I'd be there telling them, but they don't believe me. And so when
mm,
I actually give them the evidence and so forth and so on, that's when they would say, okay, Miss, I somewhat see what you're seeing now. But
Mhm.
they didn't really agree with me or believe me, at first. But because they don't want to come off as being rude, they may say, oh,
mm,
yes, miss, when really they didn't. But I have to give them the evidence and show them, and
mm,
then they would see what I'm talking about.
yeah, totally get you. Yeah, so what this man is saying in the poem, it's a real thing.
Yes.
We're all hypocrites on some level.
Yes. True.
We can't, we can't really get away from that. Someone says the woman speaks.
Yes,
Definitely.
there's a desire there. Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. The woman's desire to, I guess, rescue her son from this perilous path he's on.
Hmm.
And what about the son's desire though? Because there must have been some motivation um triggering him to take up this job, work for this
Yes.
man.
Possibly a easy way to make money. They said
I think so.
when he asked him for bread, so the bread there, yes, it's bread, but it's also symbolic of being able to provide for yourself, to not starve.
Hmm.
Yeah, so he
Maybe
gets
even provide for his mother, even though that isn't explicitly
exactly,
stated.
yeah. He's seeing that as the only option, at
Yeah,
that
a
point
way
in time.
out.
Yes.
Mm.
And then you
Wow.
could also connect it to the fact that he was not fathered, so
Mm.
doing
Mm.
doing his desire to be for manhood, or to manifest himself as this provider, this man, this breadwinner, and all of that. So there's the desire that also comes from that male ego of wanting to solidify himself in his gender role as well.
Wow. And that's another way in which we could even look at gender coming out too. Nice. Someone near Bread and Butter says dreaming black boy. Yeah, 100%, 100%. The entire poem is about a little boy's hopes and desires. There's hope in that poem, but there's also hopelessness, isn't there?
Mhm.
Because this boy knows it's not really going to get better for him. Michelle saying, this boy from the woman speaks. His desire is to help his mother. Yeah, it's not really stated, but I think that could be
Yes.
a driving factor. Yeah.
If not,
All
if
right.
not to have the
Mhm.
mother to at least provide for himself.
Yeah, at the
Hmm.
very least. Any other points where we're seeing? I mean, we could see hopes and desires in every point, but I mean, where we're
Yes.
seeing a very strong, uh, we're seeing some
Um,
strong points for hopes and
I
desires.
want to say that be not proud, but I'm afraid.
Afraid, death be not pro. What is from what angle are you approaching that?
I think the speaker hopes or desires is that one day, as he's saying, that will have no more power, something to that effect.
Mm. So is he desiring that, or is he saying that is already the case?
See why
I
I didn't
don't
want to
know.
say that?
No, I'm just asking. What do you mean? No, I'm not bashing your answer. I'm not bashing you. I'm just trying to trying to understand your perspective.
Yes. I would have to look back at the poem.
Right. Death be not proud. I
Well,
would say maybe the speaker is desiring that we understand the powerlessness of death. I think I get it as him preaching to us, and he wants us to understand that hey, there's no need to fear death. So I think that is the speaker's desire. What do you think, Melina, about death being not proud?
yes. Now just skimming of course through the poem. I think his desire, but he makes debt, and I could be wrong, so correct me if I am. Right? I think he makes debt um powerless by
Hmm.
desiring it. You know,
Ooh.
Mm,
right?
yeah.
So the desire then, or you could correct me, hope or desire, you could say which one you want to go with, is to escape the war and the sickness of life. All the tribulations that would come with life, and that is how he makes death powerless, because death must come.
Mm-hmm.
That is that is powerless to the inevitability of it. you know so
Mm.
and yeah, so that is the desire to have that and to escape life.
And we also see the hope of the afterlife, the hope of resurrection.
Yes.
And so we know as Christians, we should have the hope
Mm-hmm.
that even when we die, that's not the end of it. So
Mm-hmm.
the speaker has that hope, and he's trying to sell us that hope as well. I
Yes.
guess.
We wake eternally.
Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good thing you brought that up, Miss Anderson.
I'm always bringing up the contradictory ones.
Yeah.
No, well, it
All the
means
better.
that we there needs to be like a really in-depth reading of it when we actually speak it,
Yes.
we just don't
Yes.
take it on the
Yes.
surface, yeah. So
Mhm.
that's good. I like it. Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Okay.
And when I'm talking about the woman speaks, the young man desiring to have a father figure. I thought of that too, actually. For back
Yes,
to yeah, this yeah, that poem. So
Okay.
that might have motivated him to, align himself with this employer because he was not fathered. So he might have, been desirous of that father figure to look up to.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Before the last, well, the last one I would like to input would be old Hig.
Mm.
She desires
Oh.
to live. She desires the baby's blood. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Never look at it like that, but I'm seeing it. I can see it.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. I can see a desire for every poem here. Honestly,
Yes.
I can see someone desiring something.
Sonnet, even in sonnet composed,
Yeah.
that
Yes.
one where the speaker, is as if he wants everyone to see and experience what he is, and
Yeah.
somewhat for the city to remain like that.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, I'm kind of getting
Yeah.
that desire. He would want it to stay like that, and to
Mm-hmm.
live in that moment, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For
And
every
even
poem we can see a desire. Yes,
yes,
Melina.
Mm-hmm.
even in it is the constant image of your face is as though the persona's desires are confused. Do I choose my country? Do I choose the
Yes.
woman? Who do I desire more? And then he decides
Yes.
that, the woman, you are the mistress and my country is, as you would say, my main person, my main
Yeah.
significant.
Main chick.
Yes,
Mm,
you know.
yeah. We have
Yeah.
Michelle and Kiva saying a lesson for this Sunday and South. Yeah, we can see desire in practically every poem. So
Yep.
it's gonna come down to what
The
aspect
ones
of
that are
desire
more,
and yeah, which
and
ones
the
are most
more
prominently
dominant.
featuring.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah,
Than some. Because they just jump at you like that.
yeah, yeah. All right, let's
Like
jump
the
from hope
dreamy
and
black boy.
desire. This is what I have, but
In a
don't
time.
pay too much attention to this list because any poem, I even have it is the constant image because
Yes.
for me, the desire was strong for
Yes.
me in that poem. This desire to choose, the desire to appease both countries and all of that stuff. Here, the desire
Agreed.
to get through this dark time, escape, you know, live on. In Mirror, we already discussed all of these. But definitely also the poems that aren't on this list that we talked about before, we can talk about desire for sure, for sure. All right, what is the next theme? Oppression.
Oppression. Oppression.
Yes, Rihanna, it's all about how we justify it. That is the point. Oppression. Where do we see people being oppressed? Hmm. Let me know in the chat, guys.
I'm going through the list.
A stone,
Yeah,
a stone sure the woman is being oppressed for sure.
yeah. Stones through.
Mm.
Yeah. See oppression related to gender here.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Where else do we see oppression?
Mm.
Could dream in black boy.
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
I
A
believe so.
100%.
Dreaming black boy.
Hmm. What about the poems that deal with the colonialish poems, like African
Oh, an African
Thunderstorm
thunderstorm. Mm-hmm.
and This is the Dark Time? Do we see oppression in these poems?
Yes.
Yeah. Someone says Dreaming and This is the Dark Time. Yeah. I could see oppression in these. A more on a more country level. Here it's on a more personal or a racial level. I don't know how the gender comes in here. Yeah, we see Bread and Butter agrees with Dark Time. Would we go as far as to say bird shooting season has oppression in it? Is it that bad?
I don't know. There, I would say yes. You can say that there is some oppression, but then who exactly is being
Who is
oppressed?
being oppressed?
Um, hmm, maybe I don't think the boys are being oppressed.
No,
I
I don't
think
see
they are
that.
eager. They
Hmm.
enthusiastic about growing up to be like their fathers and to fulfill
Yeah.
the roles and all of that. So
Mm-hmm.
that if we do have to swing it in terms of oppression, then it would be the
The
woman.
birds.
Or
The
of course the
women.
birds. I forgot the birds. Yes, the
Mm.
birds too. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, the birds are the women in my viewpoint.
Men.
Ooh,
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
I did not think about it like that. Exert. Yes.
Mm.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think the birds are symbolic of the women. The birds being hunted are the women being confined to this particular role.
Oh, yeah.
So I looked at
When you
it.
put it like that, I can see it. Yes.
But I don't know. Oppression is for me, just personally, it's a strong word for this poem.
For the
Yes.
bird shooting. Well,
Yeah. We could talk
okay.
about it, but I think oppression, I don't know, the language for me just wasn't strong enough to say oppression. Oppression sounds like dreaming black boy and someone is a dolce. I can't even see. I don't know. The soldiers voluntarily signed up, maybe. So are they being oppressed? I see more depression than oppression in dolce, personally. But
Yeah.
West Indies, USA, I see that coming up a couple times. I no.
I don't really see it. No, I was confusing it for test match. Sorry,
Okay,
test
okay,
match.
okay. What
Yes, I was
about West
confused.
Indies, USA?
Ah, West Indies, USA. Look at
Mm,
my note.
I think we could. I'll give it a half mark in my book. We could argue it. It's not as explicit as in other poems, but we see where the black people aren't really treated fairly, and where the West Indians are kind of slighted. But again, oppression for me is such a strong
It's
word.
very strong. Yeah, it's strong.
Mhm. Someone said my
So
parents, the speaker, was oppressed. Oppressed? Am I? Am I? Am I? I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I get where you're coming from.
to use oppression, it has to be very. You have to see it very strongly because oppression itself is a strong word.
It's severe. It's taking away your rights.
Yes.
It's kind of putting your back against the wall where you can't make it in life. You're
Exactly.
being limited. So I don't use that word so loosely. What do you think, Melina? Melina, you're quiet on this one.
Yeah, I am listening, and I agree that to me oppression it is that what is the word? What is the word? That being subjected to cruelty, things that
Hmm.
would be unjust, and any type of brutality. But it wouldn't just be like a stint that of when it happens. It would be something where you see it is happening more than once, because to me
Over time,
oppression,
yeah.
yes, there's, you know, it can't just be one glitch, one stint of it happening. It has to be, you know,
And yeah, and there are different types
prevalent.
of oppression, because
Yes,
somebody can be
mental, physical,
mentally
or yes.
oppressed. Mm-hmm.
And I think,
Mhm.
as you said, mentally oppressed, I think the mother, or maybe even the son, in the woman speaks to the man who employed her son. I think this, that in terms of when she looks back at all that she puts into this child, and now this is what he is becoming. He's becoming, you know, this statistic, this 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 toy to be used by this gangster or whatever. That is oppressing her mentally, you know. So I think there's oppression there.
Yeah.
She is in mental turmoil over her son.
Right.
Mm. I didn't look at that point that way, but I understand what you're saying. Once upon a time, really?
Wow.
Adika? Once upon a time. Oppression? Who's being oppressed? You have to explain. Someone says, Michelle says constant image. But who is being oppressed in these poems?
No, I think I could see who would be being oppressed, but to me, I'm still having a problem with the use of the word oppressed to
Hmm.
refer to those poems. But
Hmm.
I mean, if you accept it as the word to be used, I can see who is being oppressed, if that is the word. So
Hmm.
my issue is whether to use the word oppressed or oppression to refer to them in the first place. So
Hmm.
there's definitely some type of imbalance or powerlessness or something happening.
Hmm. Hmm. So yeah, when it comes to both, when it comes to themes and also tone and mood, sometimes we have an idea that is correct, but we have to find the perfect word, because oppression, it, to me, is like a kind of persecution where it's not a one-off thing, as Melina mentioned, and it's not a light thing at all. It's 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 me limiting your life to the point where you probably don't even want to live anymore. That's oppression. It might be different from
Yes, like it's as if you're in, bondage. You feel trapped and you just can't break
Mm.
free. It's like you're living in a cell, even in your
mm,
mind, you know. That's how it feels, Rashawn.
Yeah.
all right.
And then when you put that spin on it of having different types of oppression, then you can make it more widespread. You can do more with it, but still, you have to make sure that it manifests itself,
Yeah.
properly in the poem.
Hmm. All right, let's see if we can speed up and run through some other. This is what
African
I had.
thunderstorm. East Indies, South.
South. I saw it in South. No one else saw it in South. These shadows oppress me. Come on. I saw it in South where the speaker would have been oppressed up north. Am I the only one seeing that?
I am looking back for sound.
You know what? Maybe it's too strong for this. I might change my mind a little bit here. There is that power imbalance, but oppression might be too strong. Yes, students, we're allowed to change our minds as teachers. you know?
I could see it, I could but
Mm,
it is
For
very
the for the bird shooting,
exaggerated.
yeah.
Mhm.
okay. You could see it. It might not be as pointed as in like African thunderstorm and so on, but it could be there, yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
It's
Definitely in
there.
Stones Throw 100%.
yeah.
And this maybe the main two for me might be Dreaming Black Boy and the Stones Throw and African Thunderstorm. My top three oppression poems.
Right.
All right, what other theme do we have? War and crime.
War and crime.
All right,
All
super
right.
fast in the
So,
chat. Let me know, guys. Yes, Mr.
And
Anderson, you were
crime.
saying
uh, Dolce, Dolce. This is a
definitely.
dark time, and
Yes.
my parents. Well, not really.
Crime.
No, no, no. Sorry, I take that back.
Okay, okay. I poverty, but not the crime.
I take that back. Um,
What about the woman speaks? We see crime, right? Depending on how you interpret it, the boy might have signed up to be a criminal. So
yes.
maybe depending on the
Yeah.
interpretation.
A stone's throw.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, a stone's throw.
And bread and butter is justifying my parents. I got this on a question and I was able to argue the oppression point. Over time, the boy was treated cruelly. They threw words like stones. They threw dirt at my world. Well, you could argue it, but I mean, my gosh, being treated unfairly, is that necessarily oppression? Bullying, I guess bullying is a form of oppression. So,
Well,
yeah,
as a
okay.
crime.
Oh, you mean South? Oh, South as well. Yeah, wait a minute. Okay, oppression. Okay, okay, okay. So you're on the previous team still. So anything else? War and crime, dark time, Dolce, stones throw. Oh, crime, stones throw. I guess the crime of stoning the woman.
No, the crime, supposed crime of the woman, whether it
Oh,
is
oh,
promiscuity or
Adultery.
adultery. Yeah.
oh,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
you're
Yes.
right. Okay, okay, gotcha. All right. So this is what I had from my list.
Mm.
I
You
I did.
definitely have to add a stone throw.
Okay, let me add this. Stones throw. Courtesy of Melina.
But I think Miss Anderson
Mm.
was the one that said it
Yes,
initially.
and
Yes.
Miss Anderson. Yes.
Yes. She said it initially. I was just
Okay.
waiting, just to make it perfect. I was like, yes,
Yeah.
that's so true. You
All
know,
right.
in Trinidad we say
Definitely.
she horny man. You know,
Yeah. I didn't remember that that was
And there's a lot
considered
of
a crime. Yeah.
there's a lot you can argue when it comes to crime in this poem. There's a lot you can look at. You
yes,
understand?
Mm.
Yes. And you can look at you know, what man justifies as being a crime
yes,
compared to what,
Mm.
is actually a crime in the sight of God and all of those things. So there's
Mm.
many viewpoints that you can take crime from. I think it's a good one. It's a must to be here.
What I I thought of it more as sin or immorality than crime. So that was why I didn't have it here, to be honest.
Okay.
So I thought of the same adultery, but I saw it more of sin.
right. And
But
then
I guess in the men's minds, it would have been a criminal
A
offense.
crime, yes, it's a
right.
criminal offense to them.
Also, it would be it would just be a sin now in our time now. But
Mhm.
if we go into the what would that is allusion in terms of the biblical allusion, then that would be a crime because crimes when we justify what is a crime, we use morality and all of that to figure out what is actually a crime.
Crime.
Of course, all sins are not crimes, and all crimes aren't maybe sins, but definitely there's you can justify it as crime with the time of it. When you go back into that biblical time, it would be a crime. It
And
would be a crime.
yes, yes, Melina. And if you were to even go deeper, you can look at it from a feminist perspective to
Yes.
say that how the woman was treated was a crime.
Yes.
It was wrong. You
Yes.
understand me? So you could look at it from that point of view as well.
Yeah.
And it
You
would
know?
definitely be a crime. No, stoning someone to death, right?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay, all right. It deserves a spot here for sure. And no one really mentioned this one. Do you
Yeah, I
see
was thinking
war?
about it. Mm-hmm.
Maybe there isn't a direct reference to war, but a lot of the
Right. When you read the
diction
background, mm-hmm.
and the
And when you look at
diction sound there were references to some about gunshots, but what was the word? We don't really have time to bring up the point, but read it and then let me know afterwards if you think there's sufficient diction or evidence to
Or something
support
like
that maybe a war could have been happening
um maybe with
or
the
a
smell
rebellion
of
or something
fire
like that.
smoke or something.
Something like that. I thought, oh, maybe there's a rebellion happening, and then we see that the people aren't bending like the trees. They're not. They're kind of resisting. I got that idea of a resistance of this storm being like the chaos of some kind of. It could be just the colonizers bringing problems, but it could also be a rebellion. So the tattered flags. What does that mean? Does it mean fighting back to tear down the colonial flags? I don't know. It's not explicit. I'll give it a half mark, but I think we could see references to war and crime. Maybe,
But maybe
maybe,
more to
maybe
war. Well, but I guess crime too.
more the war. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Bam, bam, bam. Suffering and sadness. Suffering and sadness. Are we seeing suffering and sadness? We're definitely seeing suffering and sadness in a lot of poems.
Yes.
Dolce.
Dolce. All of the negative themes, right? Dolce. Yeah. Dolce. So might as well just put a stones through. No
The woman,
question.
the man who employed her son, or what? She's sad.
Yeah.
She's suffering.
Bread and butter giving us some
Mirror.
context for the previous poem. Mirror, okay. Suffering and sadness. I can see it. Someone said little boy crying. I can see it actually. It's a question of how prominent a theme might be, but I can definitely see it as something that you could talk about. The little boy suffering and the father also suffering because he has to teach his son a lesson and he's being misunderstood.
Yeah.
That causes him suffering too. Do you see it in Once Upon a Time? Do you think the speaker is necessarily suffering or sad?
To some extent, it may, yeah, to some extent, I wouldn't say it is staring it, it's coming out at you like that, but to some extent, yes.
Give it a half.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, it's more desire than suffering, maybe, right? Uh, Dreaming Black Boy, right? We can all agree on that.
Yes, yes. Yeah, that's
Yes.
one.
Yes.
Uh, I think we keep forgetting this one. Do we see the
My
butterfly
parents,
suffering? A lesson,
Oh, yeah, we do.
or can we say that nature or the butterfly might be suffering?
Yeah.
Or that's a stretch? Kinda. Okay. If it sounds like a kinda, I'll put half.
Yeah.
Because I guess there are levels to which a theme can be prominent in a poem. In this poem, the speaker is kind of suffering too, torn between
Yes. It is a constant image. Yes.
half or maybe a 2/3.
Mm.
my parents,
Someone says my parents. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All high?
Ah, she may be sad. I
I
don't know if she's sad about it. I wonder.
maybe
Sounds
because
like
she
a.
gets blamed for some of the things that probably she didn't do. So I could
Mm,
see there where she may be suffering from being, what do you call it now, wrongfully
addicted?
accused. And
Oh, wrongfully accused. Okay.
yeah, and also she could, as you said, Mr. Webb, being addicted is like she can't help herself to some extent. So,
Mm.
maybe, I don't know.
Well,
Yes, bread and butter.
and then I think there's some reference in Old Heat to the murder inside the head of the mothers and all of that. That is some type of suffering, and I guess if she's responsible for that murder inside the head of the mothers, then she has to suffer with
Mm.
that. She would be she's not happy about it. But she, I mean, she surrenders to the fact that this is what she does, but she,
Yeah.
but she's not happy about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I could see it for both of these poems. The dark time and thunderstorm, the people suffering, the people being oppressed, right? Yeah. And are the women suffering in bird shooting?
Hmm.
Yeah. Or is that too strong a word again?
Probably quarter, not even half, if so.
All right. Yeah. All right. Suffering is one of those themes we can. The more we look, the more we find it. We can really find it in almost any poem.
Yeah, it's suffering is similar to the oppression. I was more looking at the sadness in it.
Yeah.
Sadness. All right. All right. Let me see what I had beforehand. Oh, so many. The whole list. The whole poem list.
Yeah.
I had these. I think all of
Okay.
these came up in our selections. Yeah. West Indies, USA. This didn't come up. Any suffering or sadness? I think the speaker feels kind of bitter, or he's, I think, reflecting on how the US would have caused us to be excluded or to suffer.
Yes.
You promised us XYZ and now you're shutting us out, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I see a little bit of, maybe it's not a main theme, but I think it's kind of there.
It's there. Yeah.
Hmm.
Truly, that exclusion from the US. Yeah.
Hmm. All right, what other themes can we think of? The themes are unlimited, guys, to be honest. Patriotism,
Patriotism and nationality. Oh, nationalism.
nationalism.
Mm-hmm.
I group these,
Ah,
they're quite similar.
It is a conscious image of your face.
Definitely.
Dulce.
Yeah, definitely. For
this is a
me,
dark time.
definitely. In the chat, you have to keep up quickly now because we're moving.
Mm-hmm.
We're not waiting anymore. So as soon as you see a theme, type the poems that come to mind.
Test match. Yes.
Ooh,
Yes, yes,
yes.
yes. Test match. Yes, definitely.
Sparkles going back to suffering and sadness, bird shooting season because the girls were sad when the men wanted to shoot the birds. Yeah, that's a good point. It's a good point for sadness. And we can say that the birds would have been suffering. Someone says West Indies, USA. I think is there such a thing as regionalism? Because it's more of a regional identity being discussed.
Yes, but you could
But I
also
Yes.
look at it from the point of view of the US and how many
right.
barriers they put to preventing
Mm-hmm.
people from the region from getting into the country and all of that. There has to be some type of nationalism on their
Yeah.
part in protecting their U.S. Identity and
The
their
vaunted sanctuary, they call it.
yes, yes, yes. This I, as they put it, the island of the free. You know.
Yeah, very ironic.
Hmm.
Someone says test match. Yeah. All right. Since we're just jumping quickly, let me see what I
Mm-hmm.
had. I had these. I have South. I think South is a winner too. We see the patriotism at least.
Hmm.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
We're trying to wrap up, so let's move quickly. I had 20 themes on this, but I don't know. We might not get through all of them. But we're almost done. Imperialism and colonialism, very similar to what we did before,
An African thunderstorm.
for sure. And we can kind of pair it with This Is the Dark Time, I think. We see one nation.
Dreaming Black Boy. Mm-hmm.
Dreaming Black Boy. Really?
Colonialism.
When we're looking at the colonialism, that's why I
Yeah.
said that one, because we can
Okay.
argue it from that standpoint. He was black, and that's the reason why he was going through what he did. So that's
I
why I said
I see
that.
the racism in it, but I'm not. I'm wondering if the poem, if the speaker was colonialized in any way.
Uh,
I see the racism for sure, but Melina, what do you think?
But
Do you think we're seeing? Mm,
isn't it because of colonialism why he
yes.
was at a
Why racist?
disadvantage?
Yes.
That's why racism was there in the first place, because it
Hmm.
stems from colonization.
okay. All right. Fine. 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 So looking at it more historically, we can say
Yes.
colonialism.
Hmm.
All right. Gotcha. No
Yes,
problem.
I agree. I agree with her take on it. Yes,
Mm,
yes. The racism and is basically a consequence of that colonial
Yes.
ideology. Yeah.
Yes, Melina.
Yes.
all right. Understood. Someone says West Indies, USA. Are we seeing that, teachers?
Yes.
Yeah. Not.
If we're going to
Yeah.
look at
Yeah.
the,
Yeah.
the colonize,
All
so we
right.
could look at it from that standpoint.
Mm. Someone says test match. Are we
Yes.
seeing
Yes.
colonialism?
It's it
Uh,
depends on how you're going to structure your analysis, but I can see where you can argue it from that point of view as well,
mm,
because there was somewhat of a prejudice, and we see
mm,
hints of racism coming out, and again, these are things that comes from colonization. So you'd have to bring it back. You have to bring it back to the history and all of that. You have to link it back to that. But there
mm.
is room for you to actually, or grounds for you to actually, link it and argue it from that point of view. So I would say yes.
All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. I can accept that. All right. We're moving. We're not going to be as thorough moving forward. We just want to move. I won't even show you my list because the list we argue here and come up with is more interesting than my list. Religion and God.
Stone's true for sure.
All right, easy start. We have the guru, God merchant man, which is supposed to be Jesus. And we have the holy men, quote unquote holy men, stoning the woman.
Yes.
Religion and God. Death me not proud, right?
Yes.
We're looking at a very religious, a very Christian perspective of death.
Hmm.
What about a lesson? It's the title sounds a little bit Sunday schoolish, but are we seeing religion in the poem or God?
I could try to remember
Mm, People in the chat, I'm not ignoring. I'm not ignoring you. Ignoring you, but you're not typing fast enough. Michelle says stone throw.
Oh, but
Okay.
doesn't sorry about us. We'll come back to us. What is the
Hmm.
one that a lesson? What about
Hmm.
the woman to the man who employed her son? I think she made
Ah,
references to the Bible with is correct something. I can't
true.
remember, but she compared to herself to some woman in the Bible.
The mother of Judas,
Yes.
and there's a lot of biblical allusion too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else? God and religion.
Right. We have to come back to see whether a lesson to Sunday applies.
Michelle agrees that it applies. I would say it might be a bit of a stretch, but you can find it. Watch my analysis on a lesson for this Sunday, and I talk about God in it,
Yes.
but I wouldn't say that it's necessarily the main theme, but it's there. I think there are many hints
Mm-hmm.
talking about kind of an immoral way in which we treat and perceive nature.
Mm-hmm.
And this immorality is on the grounds of religion. I think even the title and some other hints are kind of suggesting there's even the mention of Sabbath. So
Okay. Good.
we get the idea that the speaker is framing his disdain from a religious standpoint. Put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not
Yeah.
a primary thing, but I think it's there.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yes.
Bam. I think we're almost done. Poverty. We talked
Poverty.
about this. I think we talked about this a little bit. Uh, Someone says God's grandeur. I love God's
It's not
grandeur,
on
but
it.
it's not on the syllabus anymore.
I don't know why they took it off.
Such a nice poem, man.
Yes.
But yeah, that would definitely be up there if it were still on the syllabus, Jeremy. You must be an OG if you're mentioning God's grandeur. You must be one of the original people.
Yes.
Poverty.
The woman speaks to the man.
That's what came to my mind first.
Poverty, poverty.
My parents.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Because the
with
street children were probably poor,
yeah.
stuff like
Hmm.
that. And
We see a contrast between like the more
contrast.
well-to-do and the poorer set of
Yes.
poorer kids. Maybe not a main theme, but it's there.
Yeah.
Uh, what about West Indies, USA? Especially in the
Yes.
last couple of stanzas.
Yes. With the
Yes.
what you would call the third world versus first world countries.
Yeah, yeah, I see it. So contrast again from the chat. Anything else? Poverty. We're moving fast, guys. So if you want to type with all your might.
Speed.
Type with the speed of lightning. All right. While you guys are thinking, because we're a bit over 2 hours, so we gotta run. I have these three.
Three of them. Okay. The three that we mentioned.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Not a very pervasive theme throughout the points.
Yes, it's not one of those themes that just, automatically jumps out at you. Okay, this one is what? Death. Okay.
And we
Death
have more
being not
support
proud.
here. Of course. We can't
That
live
one
out
is,
that one.
yes, that one is just, yeah.
The death point.
Dulce.
Dolce.
Yes.
Yes, Melina. Dolce. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Ah, this is a dark time. Or this is the dark time, my love.
Okay. Yeah, these soldiers bring death.
Yes.
From that reasoning, could we put it in an African thunderstorm, or is it not as pronounced?
No,
Maybe
I
it's
don't
not
think
really
so.
explored.
I don't think so. I don't see.
Hmm.
Let me look. No, I
Maybe
don't.
implied but not really stated.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't really see death in it.
okay,
I don't
all
see
right.
death. Madman chasing pregnant clouds, dart in and out. The wind whirls, out in march of the storm.
All right.
Old
Dreaming black boy.
is there? That's an old heat. Oh,
All hag. Yeah, I think so. The hag is killing babies.
yes. And she's also trying to prevent herself from dying.
Exactly. Yeah. Someone says Dolce, of course. Brianna coming in with a couple of poems. West Indies, USA. Oh, this might be for the previous team. I think so. I think so. All right. Let me see what I had beforehand. Uh, oh, I had this many. The woman speaks. You know, the son is about to die if he continues on this path. We talked about Dolce and Dark Time and all of the rest. Yeah. So these for me are the death poems.
Hmm.
Okay.
Doesn't mean that we can't find death anywhere else, but for me,
Mm-hmm.
these 5 poems stood out. Gender, we're almost at the
Gender.
end.
Bird shooting.
Oh yeah, bird shooting season.
A stooge
A
throw.
stone's throw. Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Anything else?
The woman speaks to the man who employed her son.
Ooh, okay. That might be it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm still looking. Let's see.
Still looking. Hmm.
Yeah. Gender, if you're talking about both genders, yeah.
Hmm.
Because you could, I mean, once there's, um, I guess, that pervasive figure of a woman in the poem, you could always talk about femininity or what the woman should be or should not be and things like that. And similarly with the if there's a male figure in it as well, you know. Um, you could
Yeah.
even end it to what is the poem where the father teaches the son the harsh lesson of not making a plaything with the rain and
Oh.
things like that. So
Mm.
maybe not predominant themes, but you could always
Yes, I see what you're saying, Melina.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So little boy crying, maybe it's kinda
Yeah.
there.
Hmm.
Okay. I see more parenthood than gender, but
Yeah.
I see what you're saying with the
But definitely
the
parenthood.
yeah,
And parenthood,
yeah.
maybe that could be a theme for you to consider as well.
Of course.
Yes.
We say mirror, mirror. Okay. What do you guys think? Mirror for gender.
I think if you take it from the perspective of what I was talking about in terms of if
Hmm.
there's, but then you would have to, there would have to be the stereotype of what the woman should be or what she ought to be or what she ought to look like
Oh.
or things like that,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I could
Because
see.
maybe yes, go ahead, Mr. Anderson.
It's okay, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah,
All right.
I
I
was
was
just
just saying that I could see it based. Sorry. I was saying I could see it based on what Melina was saying. If we're
mm,
looking at it at from that point of view.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I was just agreeing with Melina too. Maybe if it were a man, the man wouldn't be so obsessed with finding his youth and so on. Because stereotypically, the woman should look young and the whole thing. And
Yes.
the beauty is like a social currency for the woman. So there's definitely ways to
What would
use
bring it,
gender as a
what would have brought it out more in mirrors if the mirror itself had a male gender, you know?
ooh,
But I wonder
yeah.
if it did in terms of but then that was a real stretch because I remember they saying something about a god. the eye of a little god or something like that in that poem. I
Yeah,
don't
so
remember.
beyond human. Yeah.
Yes, but I mean, it's really a stretch because then you would say, well, God versus goddess or something like that.
So God is a man for sure, right?
Well,
That's
yeah,
what
it
we're
is a
saying.
man for sure. But then when we say man, it's kind of like when we say mankind. Man,
Right, right,
you know,
right,
is
right,
like is all of us, is both the
right.
male and the female. So when
Hmm.
because we use when you say let's say you think of yourself as a god, you know.
Hmm.
I mean, you could apply that to both men and women, but I mean, of course,
Hmm.
the word goddess is it is a word that exists, so you could pull it out and talk about the diction there if you want.
Interesting. That's why I like these sessions, man, because I always get to hear some new, and I score these poems, but you see, no matter how you score a poem, you will never find the insights that somebody else will find. That's
Yes.
just how it is. You read a poem 1,000 times, and somebody else will still see an angle that you just
You
never
never
got around
saw.
to. Yeah. Brianna says, "Can you explain uh,
A
how the
woman.
woman speaks? How do we see gender in this poem? Who wants to take on that one? Who is
For
it that
me,
advocated for this poem?"
I think it was Melina. Was it Melina?
Yes, I'm looking for it now. 67.
Yeah. But you were saying in the meantime, Miss Anderson.
Yes, we could look at it from the mother being a strong black woman who typically, the role of the woman is to really be there for the children and to take care even if the father is not around. So we could say women are strong, strong, and they are the ones who make sure that the children are taken care of and so forth while the father is not there. Sometimes the father is not there. In this case, she's a single mother. I don't know if it said what happened to the father, if he left or if he died,
Yeah.
but the father is not around. So we now talk about women taking on the role of providing and all of those things. So there are many, many ways that we can look at it in terms of gender.
Yes. Right. And when that poem starts, it starts by talking about how she carried him. So it goes into that that female, that specifically female function of motherhood and
Right.
pregnancy and all of that,
Maternity.
right? And then so then the son is then when you oppose it or contrast it to the male figures seem to always be negative in that poem.
Mm.
Missing, as Anderson said, the father is missing, and he even she even said, well, she's used to that stereotype of the father because he had more like him, so it
Yeah.
was
Oh.
unbiased from the point of view of the father. It was his norm to go around so-called in quotations fathering children, but not
Oh.
actually fathering them. And then the other, I guess, mature male figure is one that is seen in a negative light as taking advantage, as being this gangster, as this drug leader, giving the child the son, not let me just say child, because he's also struggling to reach towards manhood and masculinity in himself. And this is the example that he has, the one example that he has.
Right.
He's fatherless, right? And it is negative, it is advantageous. And then we also see the mother herself struggling to be a mother and to also try to be a father. Of course, she
Yes.
you could also use the fact that the boy is falling prey to this gangster as her failure to father, because she is unable to do that. Even though
Yes.
she tries, as much as she tries, she prays and all of that, she is just unable to fill the shoes of a man, of a father, of a male figure.
Right.
So you could talk
And that
about
is why, yeah, that is why it's important to have for especially male children to have
yes,
a good example of a father, you
yes,
know, in their life to really put them on the right path. So that's how we can bring in gender,
yes,
male being not being there, woman always, well, in most cases, especially in the Caribbean setting, we find that there are many single mothers, So could bring in that and you know argue it.
All right, that
He
must have
said, "Oh,
answered the
I see."
question.
He said, "Oh, okay, I see what you're saying."
Yeah,
Yes.
very good explanations
And it's
there.
relevant in today's society, Brianna. It's very relevant even here in Jamaica, where we see that a lot of the crime and violence that take place in Jamaica, many will would link it to the parenting or the socialization that the child is coming from. Many of
Yeah,
them are coming from
absentee
home with
fathers.
only, yes, absentee fathers. So that one is that would be a good essay to write.
Yes.
Yeah, and we really see the focus on gender from even the title, where everyone in the title is gendered. The woman speaks to the man who has employed her son.
Yes.
So there's really this. It's, the title is foreshadowing the importance that, hey, pay attention to the genders here, and then we see the father also. So there's definitely a focus on gender, man. Definitely a
Yes,
focus on gender.
that one is the fear.
Yeah. Even though it's not stated that this happens because she's a woman or he's a man, we can see like the roles or the stereotypes coming out of this is what a woman has to deal with. This is what men do. We see one man leaving the child and the other man getting him into trouble. So we're seeing.
And yeah, and we
Yes, go
see
ahead.
where the woman is taking on the role that is normally the role given to a man to be the head of the household, to be the breadwinner. But we see here where the woman has to take on that role. So it's like a reversal of the gender roles, right? Where we see the
Not,
woman now
not just reversal because she has both. She has to be mother and
take
father.
on both roles. Yes.
There's no father, so the poem said she raised him twice, first as mother, then as father. So she tried a more maternal parenting style, and that failed. She's like, well,
Right.
maternal style alone isn't cutting it. So I'm gonna be a father as well. I'm gonna be tough. I'm gonna trying to make him into a man, and we see where, as much as she tried, she just couldn't be a father
Do
to the
what a
boy.
father could do. Yes. And
Man,
that's a
what a
saying.
poignant poem.
Yeah, that's a saying. A woman can never be a father, no matter what. You know,
And it's
can
so
never
sad
be a
that so
father.
many women have to try to be fathers because the fathers disappear. Yeah. Someone says test match. What? Are we on the same team?
Wow.
If you're talking
Gender.
about gender, you have to explain a lot there.
Uh-huh.
All right.
Yeah.
I think gender was the last one. Let me see. All right. Skip over my list. Oh, wait a minute. Are we done?
We did that one already.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did that
We,
one already.
Yes, we did.
okay. It looks like we're out of themes. I don't know. Oh, there's one more.
Childhood
Yes.
experiences. Okay. My
Childhood
parents, little boy
experience.
crying.
Once upon a
Um,
time.
Once upon a time. Dreaming black boy.
Ooh, yeah, this boy's a boy. Yeah.
I think those are the ones I have so far.
Uh,
What about bird shooting? No?
ooh.
Yes, yes.
Personally, I
Maybe
give it a
maybe
half
not
mark,
so
but
much.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
It's not the
uh,
main theme,
mm.
but it is there.
Yeah.
But we definitely see the children kind of growing up to fill certain roles, like
Yeah.
expecting to fill certain roles. So I guess we could say that's a childhood experience. Anything from the chat before we jump, because we're jumping now. We're not running anymore. We're jumping. We're jumping. This is the longest live in a while.
Hmm.
All right.
I'm going to be, I guess, controversial. What
Wait.
about an African thunderstorm? So the children seem to be the babies were clinging. Well, I mean, it's probably like a minuscule mention of them, but the babies were clinging, and the children were delighted
Oh,
as well. They were delighted
I
in the madness of
see.
the storm and all of that.
So that would
But
be their childhood experience.
yes, it, And
Okay.
you're seeing to see a thunderstorm from the point of view of a child. I guess that is why we have the descriptions of them being delighted and things like that, because when as an adult you would look at a storm and you would not feel delight, but a child would, you know. They would be somehow amazed, or curious, or just have this strange perspective of it. So
Yeah.
maybe not a predominant theme, right? But they do
Good.
mention babies, they do mention children, and their take on how they perceive the storm
Yeah.
and the willingness
You're
to come
right.
of that.
We see various responses and ideas of the storm. When the storm comes, we're seeing how everyone is reacting. We see first to see what the trees do. The trees bend. See a reaction from nature. We see that the women are running in and out.
Yes,
So I guess that's like the adults. The adults are frantic, panicking,
yes,
maybe trying to prepare, trying to survive, get ready. We see the children being delighted, excited, like, "Woo, yeah, storm!" That's how I felt when Hurricane Ivan hit Jamaica back in what 2004. Yeah, I was excited like my first storm, and school. It was exciting for me. And we see the babies clinging to the mothers back, if I remember correctly,
yes,
feeling, I guess, maybe sensing the mother's fear,
yes.
clinging. So we
And
see,
then and then
mm,
also coming off of the movement of the mother. So because the mothers would have to probably be moving so frantically or so
yeah,
quickly, I mean the babies would have to cling because your move
right,
is movement.
yeah, yeah. So amongst all of the responses, we see children responding as well.
Yes,
I would say.
Yeah.
Michelle says dreaming black boy bird shooting season. Yeah.
yes, yes.
All right, fine.
Right.
I'm looking for a slide that says the end. It should be coming up soon.
It's a boy crying once upon a time.
Said
Yeah.
I had
Mention all of those.
mentioned these. Are you kidding me? There's
Oh,
more.
love. We didn't do the love poems.
We must love.
All
And I
right,
will
Yes.
love.
I will start. It is the constant image of your face.
Okay, torn between two loves.
Yes. But then,
Yeah.
of course, when you say love, are you talking about love for a person, that romantic love, or are you talking about
I
familiar
think it can
love?
be different types of love.
Love
Yes.
is love.
We
Yeah.
can, yeah, we can look at it from different standpoints. In that case, I would say sonnet compose upon,
Oh wow.
yeah,
I never saw
being
love in a, but I'm seeing it now that you mention it.
a
Yeah.
love for a place, a love for a scene, a setting, a time.
Oh, that's good. Someone says mirror, mirror love. Love for what? Physical beauty? You'd have to explain that, Brianna. The woman speaks. Ah,
Yeah,
okay.
she loves her son and she wants
Yes.
to the best
Yes.
for him. And so,
Yes.
yeah, she's trying. So,
Yes.
yes, I would say that one. My
Michelle agrees.
parents. My
My
parents and little boy
parents.
crying.
Yes.
Both of
And that
them.
tough love.
Tough love. In both poems, they
Yes.
have tough
Both
love.
of them.
Brenna agrees with the little boy crying. Uh,
Those are what I see so far.
What about
yeah.
this is a dark time, my love? What about that? No,
Uh,
does it have love in it? I mean, it
love for the
mentions,
countrymen, I guess.
but also love. The I guess the fact that the persona is talking to this person and trying to. It seems as though he's trying to alert the person. I guess a woman to
Hmm.
this is what is happening. You need to I guess you need to be aware. You need to react. You need to wake up. I don't know.
But
This is
Okay.
a
is
dark
there
time.
but is there love, or we see the love from the persona, from the speaker to that persona, the love who he's talking to? Do we see the love
I
coming
don't know
out
if that
there?
is mutual, but he is saying my love to her. You know, but I don't know if there's much in terms of the action
Love.
to show that the love is
Yes.
reciprocated and all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see the endearing term, but I'm wondering how is love expressed? Is it in the warning or
That's what
I
I'm
speaking?
believe
trying to
so.
say.
I would say it is expressed in the warning that I am telling you, this is a dark time. I don't know if in actually saying it, there's some
Oh.
type of comfort to be had there, or to the warning itself is, I think, get up, be aware, because he has more power than her, because he's awake, she is asleep. But then how are you speaking to someone that is asleep? That is why I wonder whether it is actually sleep, you know it's a
Okay.
sometimes a bit ambiguous as a poem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Michelle
I'm
says
not
topic is the
not seeing it
sea.
so strongly.
Yes.
For me, the love is the country instead of a woman.
Yeah.
Yes, I
And
agree with that. Mm-hmm.
I'm not
Good.
seeing where he's really showing love. Concern, yes,
Yeah.
but
Concern.
love, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with
The-
Adam. Yeah, I agree
Yes.
with you, Mr. Webb.
Yeah.
Love is more
Okay,
so for
so
the country. Mm-hmm.
mirror was for
Oh,
childhood
childhood
experiences.
experiences, childhood
Mirror.
mirror. Mm-mm.
Just let me just make sure.
I guess there's one line that said like she's looking in the mirror of this lake and she's a girl. Something about some mention of a girl mentioning the woman like her past self. I'd have to look
Yes.
at the poem. Like a girl was swallowed, but a terrible woman was spat out,
Hmm.
which
But how
might
does that link to childhood experience, though?
I don't know. I don't see the
They
link.
said that the young girl is drunk, but I don't know if, but the experience is not of a young girl. It's still from the
Right.
It's still
perspective
a
of
woman.
an old woman who is probably
Mm-hmm.
learning and wanting to be a young girl again. But
Yes.
that's long drown, you know.
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Yeah, I agree with you guys. I think the experience is of a woman wanting to be that girl, but it's not a
Yes.
girl's experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All
So I
right.
wouldn't say childhood experience for that one.
No, I would not say so.
No. Mm-hmm.
I had these for me. This was it. Yeah. Pretty close to the list we
Yeah.
looked at. We
Mm-hmm.
came up
Mm-hmm.
with. This has to be the last, I'm sure.
Parenthood. My parents and little boy crying. The
Yeah.
woman
Yes.
speaks to the man. Once upon a time.
Ooh. All right. That might be it.
Yeah, those are the ones. Mm-hmm.
Brenna still talking about mirror. Yes, because she was in her childhood room. She was in her childhood room, really?
I don't. I don't know.
Ah. Brenna, you will have to write that essay and show it to me. She was in her. I mean, the room was pink with speckles, if I remember correctly. But does that mean she was in her childhood room, or is it more showing a femininity to the room? I don't know. I don't know. It's a tough one to argue. I think, Brianna.
Yeah, I think it's a perspective to look at,
Yeah,
but
yeah. I would have to reread the poem with that in mind and see if
yes.
I could find childhood coming out. Bread and Butter says
even
this is
but
the
even
dark
then
time.
it still would not be, it would still be like more of an nostalgia for the childhood or something like that, because the persona is a grown woman, you know.
Mm, yeah, yeah. Bread and Butter. Yeah, we talked about this. The warning and trying to wake up his love. His love might be how the love is expressed in this is the dark time.
Or back on love, the theme of love.
Back on love. Yeah. The some of the chats are coming in a bit after because we're moving quickly. I had this for Parenthood, same four that we looked at. Oh my gosh, no, 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 no. I've
Once upon a time.
Yes.
What a time
A
for
stone's throw, a
hypocrisy.
stone's throw.
A stone's throw. Mm-hmm.
Stone's throw. Once upon a time.
Appearance versus reality mirror.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Yeah, bread and butter. We see a point for real. Hypocrisy. What about Dolce? War
Yes.
is
Yes.
this
Yes.
great and honorable
Appearance
thing?
versus the
Yes.
reality.
At least that's
Yes.
how it appears. Yeah. What about West Indies, USA? When we see Puerto Rico, it looks like this paradise land. But when you really look at it, you see the poverty that's also there. Talks about zinc fence and Rasta pushing push carts and some. It's almost as if the speaker is able to see through this
Yes. Yes.
this veneer, you know,
Yes, definitely.
where yeah, I saw that coming out. Hmm. Do we see it in Death Be Not Proud, where death appears to be, all powerful and final, but is actually weak according to the speaker, or isn't, or we wouldn't put it in that category.
Hmm. Hmm. There is irony
Hmm.
in terms of that, in terms of what you expect, and then what the actual perception of that is. What the
Hmm.
reader's perception of that is, what the persona's perception of that is. So.
Hmm.
But
All
is
right.
is it exact hypocrisy? I don't think so. But there is
Hmm.
some stretch to appearance versus probably expectation. Or
Oh.
reality versus expectation. Sorry. You know.
Oh. Well, Brenna is kind of considering it too. Yeah, maybe for the appearance versus reality part, we could argue it, give it a half, maybe. All hype for hypocrisy. Wow, the mothers are hypocrites for blaming the hike when they are the ones really
Um.
responsible.
Hmm.
Okay, what do you mean?
And maybe you could see a bit of appearance versus reality for the Olag as well. Whereas she's seen as the one who is doing all of the killing of the babies and so on and so forth, but in reality it's not all the times is it her who, does it, so maybe somewhat, yeah, I don't know
I
if it
don't
could be.
know because when I read that poem, there's a question of who to blame for the murder inside your head, right? And it's still unanswered. Do we blame the mothers themselves? Do we blame the old he? I don't know. So I can't say for sure that
Hmm.
Yeah.
I I'm not. I don't think that there is hypocrisy here, because I think that she is doing all of this and she's trying to be true to herself, that yes, I will kill the babies, yes, I will drink their blood, I don't want to, but hey, this is the reality, this is who I am. And she has fully surrendered to that. She doesn't like it. So I don't think there's hypocrisy there. I think she's being real with herself. Appearance versus reality, I'm not sure about that. I'm not seeing it
Okay.
from my perspective, but it is possible. I guess it is possible, when we see it from
Okay.
someone's perspective, someone else's perspective.
Give it a quarter mark.
I would have to go through the poem line by line again to actually see if I
Yes,
can really, support it.
but
So
Mirror
for now,
definitely, the woman who speaks definitely once upon a
yes,
time.
yeah,
A stone
definitely
throw for
those.
sure, Dulce for sure. You know.
All right, all right, cool, nice. I think we've highlighted the ones that. Oh, I have so many. Oh, I included this because the appearance is that this man is an ogre and a terrible beast, whereas the reality is he's a loving father trying to teach a lesson.
Yeah.
So I got that kind of, it's like a misunderstanding on the part of the son,
Well, then
where
you can apply
mhm,
that same view on it to old Hig, if you want to talk about appearance and reality, then
And that's why I have it here.
yes, that is why it is how the old Hig appears to everyone,
That's
but
what I
what.
was saying.
Oh, I apologize. Yes, I now get it. Thank you.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay, man.
Yeah, that's
That's
why I have it
okay.
there. And then I don't know if you guys saw my analysis on Old Hag, but what I think is really happening is I'm not even sure if the Hag is killing any babies. The murder inside the woman, the mother's heads, I interpret that to mean it's on their conscience, really. They're the ones who are actually responsible, which we talked about in some other discussions, even postpartum depression, where some mothers actually, in a literal sense, will kill babies.
Yeah.
Or
Mhm.
we have this thing we call SIDS, where, babies just die for some random reason. And the mothers need to put
Yes.
this, they need to put the blame
Blame
on
on
somebody. They have to
someone.
understand. So they say, guess what, man? Let's make up
The
this
old
old character
egg.
and call it Haig. So the Haig is saying, if I didn't exist in your mind, if you didn't create me out of your guilt and
Wow.
ignorance, who would you even blame? How would you live through this death? So that is how I
That's
looked at
deep.
the Haig. I looked
That's
at the
deep.
Haig
I
as
like it.
like a subconscious, like a means of escape for these mothers who just need
Yes, I can
some
see it.
some amount of understanding.
Closure.
Some
Yes.
they need to put it, they need closure.
That's a
And
good
so
point.
they develop the hike. Because we know that in real life there's no hike. I hope we agree on that. Right? I
Well, in
hope we agree on that.
Jamaica, we do have the belief, well,
Yes.
some folklore of Olag.
Yes.
Yeah.
It comes from, I guess, your culture, the
Yeah,
different
but
cultures and stuff like that. But we
I
know
I
in reality there is no yes. Just
yeah,
like
but
Duppy stories and those kind of things.
yeah, we have all of
They
these
say Black
characters.
Heart Man and those kind of,
Mm.
yeah.
And when we look at
My
it,
students argue that there is such a thing called a sukunya, and even tell me the names of people in their village and all of that.
oh, well, I like to entertain those conversations, but if I'm being real, I think that hikes and these kind of creatures were created out of a lack of information.
Yes.
So we see babies are dying for no reason. It must be
I
dopey, it
mean,
must be hag, it must be vampire, it must be something. But later on, as science progresses, we start to figure out why certain things are happening.
yeah.
But the thing is, the character we created 50 years ago still exists. And the hag is saying, I am the only closure you can get when either you kill a baby or a baby die suddenly. So you need me to kind of ease your conscience and put your mind at rest. So even though she's being painted as a monster, in reality, she is like a reprieve for the parent. She's a scapegoat that is necessary. She's playing a role
Yes.
to these mothers. So because of how I see it, I saw the appearance versus reality.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you, Adam.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah. Mikai says she tries to justify her actions as allowing the parents. Yeah, she allows the
Yes.
parents, I think, to blame her. She
Yes.
kind of takes on that burden of blame, you know? And it's like, look at what I'm getting in return. I am serving you by being a scapegoat, and you're just bad mouthing me. You should be praising me and you should be thankful that I am taking the blame for you. So we see that frustration of not being thanked for her selfless duty. Oh, maybe I give the hike too much credit, but that is how I look at it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Superstitions and myths.
Yeah.
It reminds me of
All right.
LaRue, that poem.
Oh,
LaRue.
LaRue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
LaRue
Wasn't that
poem.
a hike in the poem, if I
No,
remember
it's like
correctly?
a kind of
No.
werewolf or something.
Werewolf. A
Yes.
werewolf.
Oh, I remember that from my actual school days, being a student, like grade 7, 8 maybe. I remember that poem. We finally reached the slide I've been looking for. Oh, we did it.
Yeah,
Yes.
a great discussion,
Yes.
everyone.
Yeah. Thank you guys for coming out.
Yeah. You're
Thank you for the
welcome.
You're
to the
welcome.
teachers, Melina, Miss
Yes.
Anderson, for
It
enduring
was
3 hours of
very.
this.
Mhm.
And of course, thank you to the people in the chat.
Mhm.
Kai, Brianna, Michelle, Bread and Butter, Official, Nika, Jeremy, Sparkles. I'm only seeing the names of the most recent chatters, but everybody from before. Yeah, that's it. We're almost at 3 hours, so let's call it a day.
Yeah.
Yeah, get some breakfast. Some of you haven't had breakfast yet, I'm sure.
Not at all.
Yeah. For me, I'm gonna get some sleep.
Oh.
So remember, guys, we have another session. It's gonna be 3 p.m. Jamaica time.
Yeah.
I think that is 4 p.m. Trinidad and Tobago time
I believe so.
and Barbados time. If you're in other countries, please do some math for me. So 3 p.m. Jamaica time, we're looking at devices. So if you can make it, make it. If you can't make it, watch the replay after the session ends.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks.
So
All
that is it.
right.
Take
Bye,
care. Thank
guys.
you.
Take care, everyone.
All right. Bye
Bye.
bye.